How we doing, everybody? And welcome into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. It is a Tuesday night here in the great state of Wisconsin. A little chilly out there, but hey, what can you ask for? I mean, it's getting closer and closer to winter here, and we gotta get by. I guess we just gotta get by there. I got Aaron from Brutally Honest Sports, my co-host here on the show. He's back tonight. Aaron, how we doing on this Tuesday?
Oh, you already hit the nail on the head with getting colder. It's like high 40s right here now. Like I was just bragging about the 80s, like or high 70s, I guess it was on the other night there we just recorded. But yeah, it's cool, especially at night. It's cooled off. So like you said, we got to get by. Oh, we already got we are from Mexico. Nicer there, I'm sure. Nicer there. But yeah, no, doing all right. Doing all right. I'm a lot going on. So.
Dustin's down in Mexico tonight. You got her lucky down there, Dustin. You got her lucky, son of a gun. We got to get ourselves down. Thanks for taking us with. Thanks for taking us with down there. That's all I know. That's some Viking fans for you. Those Viking fans, I tell you what. So we got lots to get into tonight. Lots to get into. I got some breaking stuff out of the WIA I want to talk about here out of Wisconsin tonight. We got some Brewer talk, Packer, NFL, college football. We kind of want to touch into it all today. Some of the rankings, the standings in the NFL, everything like that. Get through it all here on the show tonight here. So right away, looking at the WIA, there was a report that came out from Travis Wilson today, and he said the WIA has required Milwaukee Pulaski and Milwaukee Bayview to forfeit all games this year and informed the schools that they will have a 2-year playoff ban. The MPS office did not turn in required paperwork that switched Pulaski and Bayview conferences alignments for this year. MPS has many years had an elevation regulation system where the top team in the Blackbourne division, the weaker of the two Milwaukee City Conference divisions, goes up to Richardson division, the stronger division, and the last place team in the Richardson moves to the Blackbourne. So this is technically conference realignment, and that requires WIA approval, which is typically granted as a fast track when the information is submitted with support from all 14 athletic directors. The MPS office did not provide the required paperwork or go through the proper process this year, which has been an issue in the past. There have been discussions appealing the decision. I really do hope that they go to this appeal, that they appeal this, that they disregard this ruling that started out, because you're penalizing kids for something that their school district did. It's not the kids' fault. It's not the team's fault. They had nothing to do with this. Just because your high school, your athletic director could not push the paperwork through in time, could not get that paperwork done. Now you're penalizing kids who, I mean, maybe they had a shot at the playoffs. Maybe they had a shot to go to state this year in Wisconsin, and now you're penalizing these kids from that. That sucks. That sucks all the way. I mean, Aaron, you're out there in Philly. I mean, you might have some of the same stuff that happens around you in high school sports. I mean, hearing something like that, why are you penalizing the kids for your school district, your athletic director not being good at their job, not getting their job done?
Yeah, I mean, what I would say, like, what's the excuse for it? But there really is none. It's one of those situations that, like, it just makes you question, like, why? It's just like, why are the kids why do they have to pay the penalty, right? Like, that's what we're already hitting on it. It just like stuff like that boils my blood, just because it's when it's somebody in a position where they have no control on it and they're going to be penalized for it. It's like, okay, why are we accepting that? Why do we just let that type of stuff happen as a society in general? It can be sports, politics, it could be anything. But when like innocent people are paying the price for something like that, that's yeah, like I said, that just makes my blood boil. I haven't heard stuff like that happening out here, at least not yet. I mean, it very well could be, and I haven't heard about it. But yeah, that's a damn shame, really. I don't know what, like, I hate that answer because it's like you say, it is what it is. Well, okay, fix it, try, but it's like what can we do other than bring notice to it?
I mean, it's a shame on the WIA. I mean, they've had a lot of these incidents through the years where people, I mean, they're getting outraged and they're complaining and everything like that. And I mean, you look at the comments from people all across Facebook and wherever you want to look, and you just think about, I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, you think about the kids in that situation, the dedication, everything like that, that they put into it. And I mean, Dustin comes in, he says that WIA, the useless, completely useless. I agree. I agree. There really hasn't been a thing that the WIA has done throughout the years that has blown me away impressive. Like I love this. I'm not gonna say it's the NCAA because that's a big old money pit. But this is, I mean, at the same time, the WIA is kind of in the same boat right now. They just do what's best for them at the end of the day, and they don't care. And you're looking at these kids in this situation, and they're sitting there. They put in this work. They are dedicated to the sport. They're getting out there on the football field, doing their thing, and now 2 years. 2 years. So you have a junior in high school right now. He can never experience playoff football. He can never experience going to state in football. He will not have that competitive edge on the football field because there's nothing he's playing for at this point, except for, I mean, the name on his back, I guess. That's what you could play for at that point. But at that same time, I mean, they're forfeiting their games at this point. So it's a mess. It is a mess. And I mean, Dustin said it perfectly, and I'm gonna say it here. Shame, useless, whatever you want to call it. Shame on the WIA. That's all I want to say on that situation because that is atrocious. I read that today and I was like, that's what I'm gonna lead off with. That's what I'm gonna lead off with tonight because that is just terrible on the WIA. So let's get away from that. We got Dustin saying, look back at the sprinter from Campbell Sport last year. The sprinter from Campbell Sport. I'm not sure what that is. Sprinter.
Love to see the comments. I love to see it.
Oh, here we go. I'm not sure. There you go. Campbell Sport sprinter could miss championships due to WIA rule. He was the fastest 100-meter runners in state history, but he'll likely be watching upcoming state championship from stands while running the time curve, blah, blah, blah. But his transfer has created a hurdle. So he transferred from school to school. So he started high school at Campbell Sport before moving to Ghana, where his parents were doing missionary work for 2 years. And then he said, my mom is back on Wednesday, they said when she comes back. And as long as I submit our documents, we should be good to go. We submitted those documents. They said not good enough. Unable to comment on WIA telling it not. Oh, that's just disgusting. I don't even want. That's terrible. I'm reading a little bit of that. I mean, that's just terrible too. So I agree there, Dustin. I mean, there's a lot of situations now with this and with the WIA that have just turned into messes. They've turned into messes, and I mean, they got to fix this one. They really have to fix this one because you are taking away juniors, seniors. I mean, maybe you can't get it for this year, but you got to look at next year too. You got to look at the next season for these teams and get them a chance. Get them a chance to get into the playoffs, stuff like that. Because it's the athletic director's fault. You want to blame anybody? You want to fine anybody? You want to suspend anybody? Go to them. Find them. Find the school. I don't care what you have to do. Don't penalize these kids for that. So that's just ridiculous there. But thanks, Dustin, for that comment there about the sprinter at Campbell Sport. I didn't even remember that. I did not remember that there, but I mean, if anybody wants to go look it up there and read the full story, I'm not going to read the full story here, but if you want to, go look at that full story. You'll see what the WIA is and what they're made of. So let's get to some Brewer talk to start us out for the day here. And a big thing I was seeing, I saw across social media was the Phillies are looking at Devin Williams. That was the report that I saw. I don't know if it's true. You never know if reports are true anymore, right? But the Phillies are looking at Devin Williams right now. Aaron, you're big. I mean, you're a Philadelphia guy. You're a Philly fan. Devin Williams. He's on that last year of his contract, but the Phillies are a team that can afford a guy like Devin Williams in that contract. He's set to make $10.5 million in his final season there. So, Aaron, I mean, looking at that, are you looking at Devin Williams as a possible guy to add on to this Phillies team?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I don't know how to explain it. I wouldn't say I'm blown away at Devin Williams right now. Like I'm not in love with him right now because over his last it was like month and a half he was shaky. Then obviously, I mean, anybody can have a bad inning in the playoffs, but it's not ideal, right? Like it's just like he's a great player, but it's like what Devin Williams are we getting? That's a risk you're gonna take. Not to say he completely fell off. I'm not going to go that far yet, but it's a risk at $10 million of in a closing role. Like that's substantial. Like that's not chump change, So you're hoping you get the guy that we're used to seeing there with with the Brewers there for a while. So I mean, Jose Alvarado, the Phillies closer. I mean, to say he had a good year, I mean, you're lying to yourself. 2-5 with a 4.09 ERA. Whip about 120, 1.25 there. Trying to pull up the actual save versus blown save stats here, but um, there we go. Wait, only 13 saves on the season. 3 blown saves, but really only 13. I mean, 13 out of 6. That's not a lot of opportunities. He's constantly banged up. It seems like these days. He's not the same Jose Alvarado of like 2 years ago. That's for certain. He's declining pretty rapidly, I would say. I mean, you could be a Craig Kimbrell situation on your hands if you're not careful. So, I like it. I don't love it. I mean, I would love to see. They don't want Williams to close. They want him to set up their other closer. I mean, I don't really know who else is. I mean, Strom's not going to close. Shoot, Hoffman's a setup man. He's a free agent. So I mean, theoretically, Devin Williams could take Hoffman's spot. I mean, Hoffman's solid to me. It's just he had a meltdown. It's just like you don't know. It's like you just don't know. Like nobody's Mariano, right? Nobody is that. Estevez is going to be I don't. I mean, I don't really like that either. Estevez is kind of like a late inning. He's like a setup to a setup man to me. I mean, he was kind of a setup man a little bit, but Hoffman was like your setup man. I mean, it was either Strom or Hoffman all year long. So I don't know. That's a really long-winded answer, but I mean, who I love is Mason Miller. I mean, I think that guy is dynamite. At least right now, he's young. You're gonna have team control of him for a while, but the A's are gonna ask a king's ransom. The Sacramento A's, I guess, are gonna ask a king's ransom for Mason Miller. So, I mean, Devin Williams is not a bad option. It's just at the end of the year, it doesn't make me feel great.
Yeah, would I say that he would upgrade the Phillies bullpen? Yes. Like, I'm not completely sold that Devin Williams is just this guy to wash away yet. He's got his moments, definitely. He's got his moments, right? And we talked about it here to wrap up the Brewers season, was that Devin Williams had his worst moment at the worst time. You look at him through the season, you look at him the game before that, he shut the door. And that's what you wanted out of Devin Williams. So the Phillies wouldn't be getting a bad guy in that spot there, especially for 10.5 mil, because they can afford to pay that all day long. It's just going to depend on what are the Brewers going to get back. Now you're talking about a guy with 1 year of control, but I mean, you could go shop this guy to the Dodgers, you could shop him to the Yankees, you could shop him all the way around. Teams are going to be looking at him. So if the Phillies want to crack at him, they're going to have to offer up a little bit of something. I mean, the Phillies got some decent guys down in the minor league system. Aiden Miller's down there at shortstop. I don't think you're going to touch the number one prospect, but you can work your way down that line. I mean, you're talking about a previous all-star closer who was injured this season, but when he was back, you saw flashes of Devin Williams in there. You saw the old Devin Williams. You're still talking about a guy with one of the best changeups in baseball. The Phillies want that. They want guys to solidify that bullpen. If they think Devin Williams is that guy, they might pay that top dollar for him. So you're looking like a Corbin Burns kind of trade is what I would say, where you're getting a guy like DL Hall where he's got a ton of upside, but maybe the Phillies don't see it. And then you get a guy like Joey Ortiz, who was great in the minors for the Orioles out there. They just didn't see it at the major league level. They had other guys at the position, so they didn't need Ortiz anymore, so they shipped him off. You look at the Phillies, you can see guys throughout that team where if you're the Phillies, why do I need prospects? I mean, I can spend my way, right? That's what they've been doing. I can spend my way. We got Bryce Harper, we got Castellanos, we got Schwarber, we got all these guys. We can spend our way to get to the top. Why do we need these prospects? So the Phillies might be a team who are more open to sending off some better prospects to try to get a guy like Devin Williams. Maybe they do a package deal. Maybe the Brewers say Rhys Hoskins, you go with them. I don't know. Maybe the Phillies get reunited with Rhys Hoskins. I have no idea. I think the Brewers will bring. I think Hoskins wants to come back. I think the Brewers will take him back, but we never know. We never know there. So that's an interesting storyline that I saw there was the Brewers and Devin Williams looking for some kind of trade. I think the Brewers will look to move on from him because that leads to my next point here. The Brewers The payroll is going to get smaller. I didn't think I could say that. I did not think I could say it. I said it the other day. I didn't say it on the show. I said it to you, Aaron. I said the Brewers' payroll is like that little pocket in your jean pants that you have no idea what it's for. That little pocket inside your pocket. You have no idea what it's for. And if anybody in the comments can tell me what that little pocket is in your pants, what's it for, I have no idea. I seriously have no idea. Aaron, can you figure out what the little pocket inside your pants is for? Can you figure that one out for me?
That's like, I mean, maybe for a piece of bubble gum, like a 20 a quarter, you slide a quarter in there. I mean, what's 25 cents anymore though? You go up
A
to like
piece of
one of
bubble gum. It's a 25-cent pocket. That's all we know.
maybe
25-cent pocket.
maybe in our childhood, right? Like now it's probably $3.25 for one piece of bubble gum, but like back in the day, like you're with a kid or something. Hey, can I have a quarter for the bubble gum machine? Maybe that. I mean, like we're talking the invention of jeans here. Like that was. I mean, I know Wrangler because of Brett Favre, right? But like I don't even think Wrangler was the first jean company. Like we're talking maybe 1900s. I don't like when did and when they first made jeans, was that pocket integrated, or are we talking that was down the line 30 years later? Oh, we're gonna put that. I have no long story short, I have no freaking clue. Not a
They
clue.
made that pocket just for people to ask, "What is that pocket for?" That's all I can think of. They made that pocket for that. So the Brewers payroll. To get back to it, the Brewers payroll is about as deep as that pocket. Because if you actually think about it, that pocket ain't that deep. I was thinking about it the other day. I stuck my hand down in that pocket. I'm like, this ain't even that deep. That's the Brewers payroll, and it got even smaller now that Bally's out the door. You don't realize how much money you get from having a selective TV market until they're gone. Now the MLB has control over the Brewers' TV rights. The MLB is not going to pay you much. They're not going to give much to the Brewers. So that payroll is going to get smaller for the Milwaukee Brewers. What do you do now? I mean, you already are one of the smallest markets in baseball. You're getting even smaller now. So how do you handle that? What do you do with that? Well, my only thought, and I was listening to a big Wisconsin sports guy, radio guy, Bill Michaels. I was listening to him talk, and I heard it there, and it was the greatest thing that I've heard. And if they can make it happen, that's what they have to do. They have to find a way to get investors into the Milwaukee Brewers. They have to find a way because Mark Ananasio is not going to be able to buck up the money because he won't. He's not going to buck up the money for the Brewers to go out and spend anything, right? And we got to find a way just to keep certain guys in house. You cannot just go through every season where we're relying on rookies to get the job done because yes, the rookies, the second year guys, they played out last year, but I mean, end of the day, you need some veterans. You need to sign good pitchers. You're going to have to make more deals like you did with Jackson Chourio, where he's locked up for a long time and it's basically a steal at this point, the way that he was playing. So you got to find a way. Getting investors into the Milwaukee Brewers, finding a way to get investors in there. You look at some of the richest people in the state of Wisconsin. I mean, there's not a boatload to choose from, I guess. There's not a boatload of millionaires and billionaires in the state of Wisconsin. But you look at guys like John Menard, right? John Menard. You talk, I mean, maybe a guy like, I couldn't see it, but you're talking about possible guys, right? John Menard gets involved. Or you get guys like, I mean, there's a couple. Diane Hendricks is actually from Wisconsin there. Get her involved in it. Just find a way for some investors to work their way. Yeah, I heard people talking about, well, what if you had former players get in on it? I don't think there's any former players for the Brewers that have enough money that can give you like, you're talking about Brewers, right? So guys who have been with the Brewers for a while don't have a lot of chump change to be thrown around. I mean, you're talking about an organization that doesn't spend money. So we don't give a lot of money out. Now, if you're talking about guys who left the Brewers and made bank on the backside, maybe.
CC.
I mean,
Yeah.
CC, maybe if CC wanted to get back involved, but you're talking about a very select few list there, and that's still potentially if they want to get involved. You have Giannis in there. I mean, Giannis is in with the Brewers, but Giannis is still playing basketball right now, and he still hasn't gotten all his money yet. So, I mean, man, you're talking about, and Dustin comes out and he says the Yelich contract will prevent the Brewers from ever raising their payroll. Yeah, but in hindsight and where the Brewers were at that point, that contract actually was a good contract. And if you really think about it, if you take the injured years out and everything, you talk about this season. If Yelich played the whole time, he was batting 300 some when he went out. He had 12 bombs or so. He was 20 stolen bases guy. Like, Yelich was playing his equal to his stats from his MVP season when he was playing. So you were getting back what you put into that contract before he went out with the back injury and then ended up having the surgery. Now you're hoping that if he does come back, that contract's going to pay itself off. If that contract doesn't pay itself off, well, then it turns into a contract the Brewers screwed up on early on. But you talk about like a guy like Jackson Churio. They played that contract beautifully. They saw the potential, they saw the talent, they locked him up for long term for less, and it's going to pay off for the Brewers in the end. It'll pay off for Jackson Churio in like 10 years when he finally gets to get his new contract. But as of now, that was a heck of a deal by the Brewers right there. So you got to love deals like that. But that's something that the Brewers are going to have to perfect going down the road because they cannot afford at this rate to be able to go out and spend money. So I don't know. To me, Aaron, you got to find some investors to throw in this room. You got to find investors or something to throw in the room with Mark Ananasio just to get more money in there because right now, you talk about it, Ananasio's paying a little bit out of pocket here and there. Yes, he's making money, but at the same time, you can't, as an owner, you can't just make money and then go out and turn around and spend it right away because then what are you really doing as an owner? You're going to do what's, you're going to make money and then you're going to put it back into the team if you can, but your team's got to make revenue on top of that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I was visiting Forbes there. It's funny. I swear to God, I can make a lot of comparisons between the Orioles organization and the Brewers to me, and it's funny because the Orioles are the 18th most valuable. What is this? Yeah, it's a valuation on the value of the franchise. So the Orioles are worth 1.73 billion, followed by the Brewers at, let me see, I just had it there, at 1.6 billion. So like literally, in lockstep with the Orioles there. Their operating revenue, Orioles is 328 million and Brewers is 320 million. So I mean, I mean, $8 million at that stage is like splitting hairs because you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. But yeah, I mean, the reason I bring up the Orioles too is like obviously they get new team ownership, which we're gonna see how that plays out. But for the longest time, they had a family that would pinch every penny. I see. I don't know the Brewers, and I want you to speak to that. Is Anna? What is it? Ananasio?
Yep,
Is
Mark
he a?
Ananasio.
Do you think he's a? Because I'm trying to think of their like they other than I don't know how much they're paying Contreras, but like Adames was making some money, right? And then obviously Yelich was making some money. Outside of that, you got like there really isn't anybody making. I guess Reese. What Reese was 18 million or something coming in, or 10 million this year, 18 option for the
18 option. 18 option there. I can tell you right here. So Willie was making 12 too. Reese was making 12. Devin Williams was making 7. You can go down this list here. I believe this was the active roster right now. So this is what you're going to get from it there. Frankie was making 5. Freddie was making 5. Colin Ray 4. Gary Sanchez 3. Savali was making 2. So you got a lot of cheap guys left on there. I mean, you're talking about some of your stars. So William Contreras is actually still on his rookie contract yet, his longer term contract. The Braves locked him up in. He was only making $766,900
I see
this
that.
last season, so he wasn't making a whole boatload. But you talk about some of the stars that the Brewers had in this last postseason or in this last season. You look at guys like Bryce Terang, 748,000. You look at Sal Frelick, 746. Garrett Mitchell, who hit the big 2-run home run in Game 2 to even force a Game 3 in the wild card series. He's making 744,000. So what you got to do if you are the Brewers, if you want to maximize your payroll right now, if you want to maximize these guys, you need to walk into that clubhouse. You need to get Bryce Terang, get Sal Frelick, get a guy like Garrett Mitchell, whoever you want to keep around right now. You need to lock them in like you did with Jackson Churio. That's just plain simple what you got to do. Because you talk about a guy like Jackson Churio, he was still on a very small contract in this last season here because he was making two mil, 250,000 right there. So 2.2. He's about 2.2 mil right there. Jackson Churio was the star in the playoffs. He was the star leading up to the playoffs, and he's making 2.2. He's going to be making that for a couple years here. So if you're the Brewers right now, you need to walk in and you need to operate exactly like the Braves do. You can't have this constant turnover of guys. You need to be like the Braves. When they find talent, when they think there's talent, you lock them up long term, like you did with Jackson Chourio. You know Bryce Terang's got. I mean, he's got to be a Gold Glove, right? He's up for a Gold Glove. He's a finalist. You know Bryce Terang's got the glove. You know he can hit a little bit. Go in there, lock him up. Sal Frelick, go in there. If you want to keep him around, lock him up. Garrett Mitchell, lock him up right now. Find these guys in your locker room right now that you want to keep long term. Lock them up for long term. That's what you got to do, because those contracts get a lot smaller then. You're not spending, you're not going out there to a guy like Bryce Terang 3 years down the road here, and you're saying to him, I know you just came off of 3 Gold Gloves and an MVP season, but we want to keep you around for this little contract. Bryce Terang's gone. Like, it's plain and simple. You got to be able to lock these guys up now if you are the Brewers. So that's the way they got to operate the payroll there. Dustin says in the comments, oh, we missed a couple there. He says, all I know is that there is some serious talk about Tom Ricketts selling the Cubs in the near future and Mark Cuban first in line. Good luck with Mark Cuban. That's all I got to say. Good luck with Mark Cuban there. I mean, I wouldn't want him as an owner. Dustin says the problem with finding investors is that they will want control of the team and the spending they do. Do you really see the Brewers owner letting that happen? I think so, just to get money in the room. I think so.
And I was gonna say, like, it's not. I'm not gonna say Dustin's wrong, but it's not every time that, like, somebody might. I mean, you see, A-Rod bought part of the Timberwolves or whatever the stake that he went in on the Timberwolves. Like, there's guys. And I'm not saying he does or doesn't, but there's guys out there that just want. Oh, I want a piece. Like, I want to own. Okay, I'm looking at the Marlins because they're cheap. Like, there's guys out there that, like, I want to own a part of a baseball team. And I'm not saying all of them are like this, but some of them say, hey, I'll invest this amount of money, but my hands are tied. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. So, like, I think there's only 30 MLB teams, like, the opportunity to have a share. If you have that, I don't care if you're not a Brewers fan, like, if you're one of these, billionaires and you have the opportunity, you could care less about baseball even, but there's the okay, we're going to make more money. Like, there's the opportunity to make more money there, which you can. You saw Snoop Dogg go, not to say he's going to invest in the game, but, like, you never know, like, different ownership coming in. Like, the Commanders have new ownership now, and things are looking, not to say the team performance has everything to do with that, but you could turn if the Brewers turn into the Braves and they're in the playoffs every year and they're consistent and they're, knocking on the door of a championship like that, like, you never know how good that investment could turn out too. So I wouldn't, as much as you can say, oh, it's not the Yankees, it's not the Red Sox, like a flashy market, flashy team. There's opportunities to, like, it really depends on your current owner and how much he wants to, because he's going to take a hit with Valley Sports walking out the door. So he might think, hey, let me open up and try and get somebody in here to try and, bring some more revenue into Milwaukee and more revenue into the Brewers.
And it wouldn't even come down to, for me, having them invest fully in the team. You could walk into a guy and say, hey, we need to get, let's just say it's Bryce Harper goes on the free agent market. Let's just say the Brewers think they can go and get him, right? It probably can't. But you get this investor. You say, hey, I know you love Brewer baseball. I know you love the state of Wisconsin. How about you come in and help us get this guy? How about you help us get this guy? I don't need your investment in the team. I need your investment in this guy, Bryce Harper. I mean, it's hypothetical world. We're not talking Bryce Harper's going to come to Milwaukee, but just one of those things where it's not an investor fully into that team. It's an investor into a player, right? You're just saying to them, you want to come in on this contract, help us win a World Series, bring that to the state of Wisconsin. Your name is going to be on that front page because you invested in this guy who's going to bring it to us. What guy wouldn't want that? What guy wouldn't want to bring that to the state of Wisconsin? A team, a Brewer. I mean, you think of fan bases out there. The Milwaukee is a baseball town. The state of Wisconsin is a baseball state. They love the game of baseball. I mean, you talk just what Reese Hoskins had to say. He's like, you go to Philly, you play in Philly. Those fans love baseball. Those fans love baseball when you're winning. When you're losing, they hate you. They just hate you out there. That's just how it is. But he said you come to Milwaukee and those seats are full it doesn't matter. You could be on a 2-game losing streak. They're showing up. You could be down 5 runs. They're still there. I mean, that's just the state of Wisconsin. That's the beauty of Brewer baseball all the way around. So maybe you get an investor just to come in for a player. That could be a thing. I don't know. I mean, it's just a thing that I was, kind of interested in, I guess, with the Brewers right now is the payroll is shrinking, but what can they do to try and fix that? I'm waiting to see what they can maybe try and do and fix it. And Dustin finishes up. He says more teams need to lock up younger players early to set themselves up for success. I mean, yeah, 100%. I mean, you're talking about organizations like the Brewers, like the Braves, even a team like the Orioles. I mean, Aaron, you're talking about the Orioles there. You got to lock up that young talent, Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschmanson. You got to lock them guys up now because they get a taste of an MVP. They get a taste of, the playoffs, everything like that. They see what the Yankees are doing. They see the Dodgers. They're like, if I was out there, we could have done it. So you got to lock them guys up early and let them know. I mean, Rhys Hoskins, that's a big reason why I think he take that player option, come back to Milwaukee, because there's a lot of teams out there, I tell you, that would take 26 home runs. There's a lot of teams out there that take it. I think he wants to run it back because he knows they can do it. And I think he's an angry son of a gun with himself right now that he couldn't do more to help the Brewers get over that hump. That's why I think he's coming back. And the Brewers have a ton of potential. It's just what can they do with it next season there. So I mentioned it before. Bryce Terang, Sal Frelick, and Blake Perkins are all finalists for Gold Gloves right now. So that's awesome. You're a Brewer fan out there. That's awesome there. Bryce Terang definitely deserves it. Led all of baseball there. 4 second basemen for runs saved. 21 of them on the season as a second baseman. That's awesome there. And then you're talking about Sal and Blake. I mean, I thought, honestly, I'm going to tell you now, Blake Perkins was one of the, if not the best, center fielder in all of baseball defensively last season, or the season that's technically still going on. But that guy was something else. He was the most nonchalant dude to rob a home run I've ever seen. He would jog back there. You wouldn't think that he had a shot. All of a sudden he'd jump, catch it, throw it in. Like Jesse Winker just hit a home run or a walk-off and he's throwing his helmet and banging around on his chest. Or when he was the Brewers, he scored the 4th run in Game 3 and he's throwing his helmet to the ground after getting hit by a pitch. None of that crap. He just tosses the ball in, says hi, goes back to playing baseball. Blake Perkins is a dude. He is that dude. So it's great to see the Brewers getting 3 guys recognized there for Gold Gloves. Aaron, I see you thinking over there. Do you have a list up of Gold Glove finalists?
Yeah, I was pulling stuff up like AL, NL.
Don't tell me Ketel Marte's on there. I swear.
I haven't really. I was digging deep in because the AL was first. I'll give you a name that definitely should not be on this list is Juan Soto. I mean, I can't name how many errors he's made, but he doesn't you watch him, he doesn't play an elite right field. He's not an elite defender by any stretch. He's third on the there's 3 names there. He's the last name of the 3, so I don't know if that means he's the least likely. If it's Wilyer Abreu on the Red Sox, Joe Adell on the Angels, and then Juan Soto. But I guess Soto had 10 outfield assists, but he's not. Everybody talks about how he's not if any part of his game is lacking, it's his defense. So that's just doesn't make much sense to me there.
I'm trying to find defensive total runs saved for Juan Soto, and I'm not even seeing him on this list right now.
Oh, I will tell you, Ketel Marte is yes.
That freaking guy. He's on there, isn't he? He's on there.
Yeah.
Where is he? Defensive runs saved. I'm looking. Jackson Chourio had 12 on the season. That's impressive. Sal Frelick had 15. Let's see. These might just be guys who qualified for it out there. Yeah, I'm not seeing Juan Soto on defensive runs saved at all. Joey Ortiz is on there with 8.
Solid.
But good stuff. Good stuff out of the Brewers. They're getting 3 guys. All in all, good stuff out of the Brewers getting 3 guys into the finalist list there for the Gold Gloves. I gotta love that. We got another question. I got a question. Is it smart to lock in all the players long term? You mentioned 2 to 4 years max. Just being good at defense doesn't make a long term offer sensible. Jackson C was more well-rounded, having strong minor league options will lock good players down potentially because they always have to play the high dollar players. I mean, I agree. I agree with that. You cannot just base it off defense. You can't at all. You can't at all base it just off defense. I think you've seen out of Sal Frelick and Bryce Terang. I think you've seen what you need to see. I do. You saw Bryce Terang perform in the biggest moment in the playoffs. He was your best hitter outside of Jackson Churriel in the playoffs. So if you're talking about guys who deserve, respect, it's Bryce Terang. He did it for you in the first half. Stolen bases, defense. He might not give you the best average. He might be a 250 to 260 hitter, but he's going to do his thing. He's going to get the bunts down. He's going to steal bases when he gets on. He does all those little things in between. I like the potential that I see out of Bryce Terang. Sal Frelick, I know what I'm getting. I know what I'm getting out of Sal Frelick. He's not this hard contact, big bat guy. But I can tell you one thing with Sal Frelick, he's not going to go down a lot. He's going to constantly put the ball in play, and he's going to give me chances. That's what you love sometimes. You love guys that give you chances. I would rather have a guy who goes up there, battles, and puts the ball in play, especially with his speed, to be able to beat something out, than a guy who goes up there and he's going to strike out 5 times. But in that 6th one, he might get you a hit. He might swing and put the bat on the ball. I'd rather have that contact guy. You know what you're getting with Sal, and you're getting that Gold Glove defense. You know what you're getting with Terang. You're getting that Gold Glove defense. Garrett Mitchell's a wild card for me right now because he was injured. I have to see it for a full season. You get moments out of him. You get a first half good, and then all of a sudden he gets hurt and he's out for the rest of the year. This season he was out for a while. Then you get him back, and you're going to struggle coming back. You're not just going to be able to jump into the fold and do it right away. But you're talking about another guy who in the postseason, in the biggest moment, hit a 2-run home run to put the Mets away. Like, sometimes for me, I look for those things because that tells me a confident hitter when he comes and then he goes in the post-game interview with Scott Van Pelt and they ask him, they're like, what were you looking for in that moment, right? What were you looking for? He's like, this is what I was looking for. And if it was thrown there, I was going to hit it. That's what he did. First pitch, put in the right field bleacher. Like, that is sometimes what you love out of a guy is confidence. When I watch Garrett Mitchell, Sal Frelick, Bryce Terang, I see the future of the Brewers in them with Jackson Churriel. Don't get me wrong. I'm not excluding Jackson Churriel. But I'm putting those 3 guys under the spotlight right now because that's kind of what we're mentioning here. I see those 3 guys. I see the future of Milwaukee baseball, along with Jackson Churriel. William Contreras, hopefully, along with that, too. Joey Ortiz, I'm hoping he's along for the ride, too. I hope that, he can kind of replicate what he did at the start of this season, get it into next season there. I just don't want to get to a point where once again, sometimes you got to risk it too, man. I mean, sometimes you got to risk it. You can't sit here as the Brewers with absolutely no money and hope to God that Bryce Terang will accept a small contract for you. You can't do it. You can't. You can't sit here and say, what if Sal Frelick does in the offseason? He starts working on his hitting, right? All of a sudden he comes back next year and he's got the hardest hard ball hit rate out of any player in the NL. What are you going to do then? I mean, then Sal is an all-around great player again. And Garrett Mitchell puts together a full season, and he's hitting bombs, and he's stealing bases. He's an all-around threat, just like Jackson Churriel when he's healthy. I mean, then you're looking at him, you're saying, what's going to tell you that you have to sign a small contract? So for me, sometimes you got to risk it. I don't know what it is, but sometimes you got to risk it. I don't know, Aaron, what do you think? But sometimes to me, you just got to risk it and sign these guys up. You have to.
I in a Milwaukee situation, yeah, I think you do because like you're not. I mean, I'm not trying to throw shade, but it's like you don't have like we all we're talking about the honest truth here is they don't have deep pockets, and we know that. So it's not like the Brewers are going to go sign. Like we can probably name 25 teams that aren't going to get Juan Soto right now, and that's just the way it is. Like the Brewers are one of those teams that aren't gonna. I mean, barring something like just astronomical happening, right?
John Menard buys in. He buys in.
Maybe Brett Favre will. No, I can't throw shade at
I
Brett
don't
Favre.
think we want his money. I don't
I,
think we
I was
want
about to
his
say his money might be tainted anyway, so that's a sore
I mean,
subject.
we'd take it anyways. I don't care.
Maybe Aaron Rodgers, right? Maybe Aaron Rodgers,
Wherever you
but
hope. Bring Rogers money into it.
Prince Fielder. I mean, who knows? But yeah, I mean, you're like I said, you're not going to go get a Juan Soto. I mean, maybe you're on the. So I just looked at their payroll. I think it was like 100. I just had it here. Total cap allocations. Let's just put it that way. is 140 million, which is 22nd in the league. So obviously, bottom tier of the payroll. So like, are they a team that would go out and try and do it? I don't know Milwaukee's minor league system, but like maybe they can, like Brent Rooker. That's a guy that's got a good bat, outfield bat. He can DH for you. From the A's, like I don't know what the A's are going to do. Typically, financially, who not a clue what their plans are because of everything going on with them. But like, are the Brewers on a team that like can get that second tier talent, like a Brent Rooker, like you saw Austin Hayes came to the Phil, like you talk about who was it, Garrett Mitchell, right? That's always
Yep.
injured. Austin Hayes, wakes up in the morning, stubs his toe, falls down the steps. Like that's just the way it is. So he's a guy that the Orioles hung on to forever, didn't pay. Went to arbitration, like the whole nine. Then they ship him off to Philly for basically chump change because at this point he can't stay healthy, which I thought was smart of them to just kind of off him at this point. Yeah, he made an all-star team. He hit over 300 just a season ago, but it's like you kind of have to you get what you can get now. And like I said, if the Brewers aren't gonna go after that second tier, I don't know who would be. I guess Goldschmidt's second tier at this point in his career. Like if they're not gonna make one of those, like another Reese Hoskins level move this offseason, I think let's sign up at least got to sign half these guys. You can't go into next season and just say, okay, they're all still just like, we'll wait till arbitration and go through that mess. Because from everything that people talk about arbitration, like by the end of it, if it's a team that's not willing to spend money, the player is going to have a sour taste in their mouth because they're going to think like they're trying to come up with every reason not to pay you what you want. So, and then for a small market team like Milwaukee, they're going to even probably try and jump you down a little bit more. So yeah, I like you said, I think you have to at least sign a couple of these guys. I'd sign the guys that have more playing time or have stayed healthy before I go to a wild card, like you said, in Garrett Mitchell. I'd sign like that Terang. I would sign him now. Like he's a Gold Glove finalist, good enough bat. I pulled up the stats. He's got like what 50 stolen bases. 50 stolen bases. So yeah, just sign him up. You're not gonna pay a ton for him, and at least you have something to hang your hat on. Where it's like, all right, let's just risk it all when they all become arbitration eligible, and only God knows what happens then. So yeah, like I said, as a Brewer fan, you probably want to see them go out, and if they made like 2 splash moves in offseason, I think that would be kind of like a win because of their payroll situation. But I've seen the Orioles are, like I said, are a comparable team. I've seen them not sign anybody for years and years and years and years, or they'll sign, they'll sign the Ryan O'Hearns of the world. And some of these guys have turned out like crazy. They've turned out, but they had, who was that? Adam Frazier. Like that's not really blowing wind up your skirt. You know what I mean? It's like cool. It's all right, but secure your talent you have, at least some of it.
Yeah, and like he hinted at there, we're not talking you have to sign this guy to a Jackson Chourio 8-year deal. Like we're not talking 8 years, 10 years. We're talking about, Bryce Trang, 4 years, Garrett Mitchell, 3 years, Sal Frelick, 3 years, small contracts. We're not talking about blow it out of the water and give them 10-year deals right off the bat. Get them locked up for a little bit here. So you have some, like you said, security on the backside of that, where now we're like, okay, I'm set at second base for 4 years now, for at least 4 years, unless Terang decides, or we decide, we can make up a little bit of a deal there. So just something that we're thinking there with the Brewers that might be a good idea down the road here. But we're hoping for investors at the end of the day. That's all I know. Hoping for investors. So I want to get to the Packers. Here real quick. Switching gears. We got the Packers in the news today. The kicking carousel continues in Green Bay. We sign up another kicker to this mess that is our kicking situation. Brandon McManus is now a Green Bay Packer. And you might know Brandon McManus because I believe he is under a little bit of scrutiny. Let's see. Was it sexual assault that he was in for? Yep, sexual assault made by 2 women. He was allegations of sexual assault by 2 women there. Both were okay. Let's just put the baby to bed here. both were put to not. He's not going to face any punishment. Let's go with that. There, both were washed away. I don't know what came out of it. I'm not going to really dig deep into this one here to tell you that this guy was either clean or not clean or anything like that. But let's get to the real news. He is now the new kicker in Green Bay. He is set, according to Adam Schefter, he is set to kick on Sunday against the Texans. So he walks in the room and he is immediately the kicker in Green Bay now. So they must have saw, they had him at practice today. They must have saw something they liked out of this guy. He is now a Green Bay Packer. I was just going to try and pull up his stats. You got his stats up, Aaron?
Just had him up here. I was actually reading about the his little
I don't
allegation.
want to dig too far into that. I don't want to dig
No,
too far.
of course, I go on a little dumpster dive there, but
We can make another show called the Crime Podcast. We'll go on the crime.
yeah, I mean, with the NFL, we could that could be like an everyday thing, but
The NFL is known for this. The NFL is known for this. Ask Deshaun Watson and the Browns.
he career. I mean, I'm having a little bit of trouble completely understanding this, but this is a percentage of field goals made out of 100. 80. I see he's 81.4. That's not hateful. That's not hateful.
Not bad.
Couple like his rookie season he struggled, and then I mean he hovers around, so last couple of years 85, 82, 83, 77.8, and then 81. So I mean I don't know what we talked about your starting kicker. What was he around what clip was he hitting at? Do you remember?
Braden Narvison was. Oh, Gandhi, I should know this off the back of my head because I keep yelling about him.
Oh man, Dustin with a bombshell there.
Hung out with Deshaun Watson one too many. Dustin in the comments. You pay attention to your soccer game, you Viking fan. We have enough of that here right now.
Oh man.
Let's look at Braden Narvison. Braden Narvison on this season so far, he is 70%. He is 4 for 4 from 20 to 29. He's 3 for 4 from 30 to 39. He's 5 for 9 from 40 to 49, and he hasn't kicked a field goal over 50 yards yet. Extra points, he's 100% on him right now. So essentially, I'm hoping that Brandon McManus is going to be a upgrade in the kicking room. But also, I mean, I'm looking at this guy's stats over time, over his career, and I'm seeing the 50 plus. He's 45 for 82 at 50 plus, 40 to 49. He's 72 for 84. You look down the line there, 30 to 39. He's 70 for 75. I'm hoping that it wasn't a sideways move. That's all I'm hoping for right there, because I'm not as much looking at the close, right? I'm not as much looking at the close there. I'm looking at what he can do from distance for me. If the Packers get it within a 40 to 49-yard field goal, what are my odds? What are my odds of this? Do I have to close my eyes? Because that's what I was doing at that point, was closing my eyes. So the Packers must have saw something in this guy if they're making this lateral move after all we've seen was, Matt LaFleur every single week say they're not giving up on Braden Narvison. He probably has to say that because he doesn't want to shoot down Braden Narvison right away. But now you bring this guy in, and Braden Narvison's basically essentially done now. So what do you do from there? Dustin, he says 81% is terrible. I'm not saying 81% is great. I'm not saying 81% is great by any means there. That's career average. His best season was 85% back in 2015 with the Broncos. So 2015, did they win the Super Bowl in 2015?
I feel like they did.
He's a Super Bowl champ. That's
Bring in
all
pedigree. Bring in pedigree.
He's got a winning pedigree.
Like he says 81%. I mean, it might be terrible, but if you have 81% compared to, what'd you say, 70, set like right around 70 you have right now?
Now he's at 70.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? Go out and trade a first-round pick for Justin Tucker? Like, you can't do much at, into a season. Like, kicking is – I mean, what we saw, I think Dallas picked up a kicker the one year, and he, was just unreal. But, it's such a random – you don't know what you're – and even this guy could come in and be, horrible. You just don't – you don't know. A kicker is, I'm not saying that they're all like that, but, you have your staples like Vinatieri and stuff like that. But, there's a lot of kickers that's you don't – I mean, you like to know what you're getting, but they can go out there and go 0 for 3. It's not like a quarterback where you have, 20 to 30 passes a game. if you have 3 kicks a game and you haven't played on a team in a year, I mean, it's one of those you just don't know. Like it's you're rolling the dice with either one of them, in my opinion. So, I mean, if you're really lacking confidence in your other guy, I mean, I you can't be afraid to hurt his feelings. Like if he's not performing, he's a rookie. Okay, either you figure it out, or we get an upgrade in here because we need somebody to at least fortify the position and make it through the rest of this year before we really figure it out.
You're just talking as a Vikings fan right now, Dustin. We're sorry that our kicker isn't 100% right now on the season. We're sorry,
Wow.
man. Like man, oh man. I mean, yeah, Will Reichert is 100% on the season for the Vikings, so you can't
What's
really
his
shit on the
long? Yeah,
Vikings. Let's see. The long on the season is 58.
wow.
Oh, wowza. This guy, I believe he's a rookie. I believe he's a rookie there. 2024, they drafted him in the 6th round of 2024 draft. He's from Alabama. Come get you at that one. This dude's been kicking bombs for years now and yelled at by Nick Saban. He's 9 for 9, 16 for 16 on extra points so far. His longest is 58 on the season there. Wow. I mean, you got it. That's a banging leg right there. That's a rookie right there showing out. That's a rookie right there showing. I mean, Nick Folk is at 100%. Matt Prater's 100%. Matthew Wright from the 49ers 100%. Chase McLaughlin from the Buccaneers, he's 100% right now. Blake Group from the Saints is 100%, and Jake Bates is 100% along with Will Reichert there. So, I mean, wowza, you got some pretty good kickers going on right now. I mean, you're not even talking about a guy like Justin Tucker. Justin Tucker right now on the season is actually 76%.
Yeah,
That's
I know he is starting to fall off. The Eagles kicker is usually pretty good too, but I
yeah.
don't Jake Elliott, but I
Jake
know he missed
Elliott.
one. He at
He's
least missed one.
75% on the season right now. He's 0 for 2 from 50 plus. That's where
Not
it seems
great.
like a lot of these guys are dropping off right now. Dustin says the best way to find a kicker is to get one from the UFL. Dallas got Brandon Aubrey from Birmingham, and the Lions got Jake Bates from Michigan Panthers. Both have 96% accurate. The Packers actually did look at a guy from the UFL. Name slips my mind right now. Alex Hale. I believe Alex Hale was in the. I believe Alex Hale he is from the UFL, but I also, if I'm not mistaken, Alex Hale is also he's on the practice squad for the Packers right now. I believe I swear that was one of them. I think it was Alex Hale, but I could be mistaken on that one. But the Packers did look at a guy from the UFL to try to bring in, and it might have been Alex Hale or it might have been one of the other guys. I think it was Alex Hale. I believe right now he's on the Packers practice squad at the moment there. So, I mean, they tried it. They tried that route there, and it didn't work. They tried drafting a kicker. It didn't work. We shouldn't have got rid of Mason Crosby as fast as we did. That's all I know. We got rid of Mason Crosby a little too fast there. Will Reichert is the all-time leading scorer in NCAA history as well, 96.7% accuracy in college. Dude, he went to Alabama. I mean, you get a lot of scoring opportunities at the University of Alabama to be a leading scorer. Stop it. Stop it. It's Alabama, Dustin. Come on. We already
And
knew
he's
this.
kicking inside from when they're at home. So like
Yeah, come on.
this shoot, who was we were just talking the guy that the Packers signed there? McManus. Yeah, McManus. I mean, do you look at it? Not to get technical with kicking here, but like he kicked in Denver, the air is thinner, so does that give him a benefit? Like the ball's going to fly further, but like the wind out there is like Denver is.
Give me Will Reichert at Lambeau Field in December in the cold. Then we'll see what looks like from 58.
And it's his rookie year too.
Cold,
like
right?
let's. I'm tired of people jumping Caleb Williams, this that. Let these guys do it. Like
Yep.
shoot. The Texans quarterback there,
CJ Stroud.
Like he's doing it in year 2.
Yep.
I can tip my cap like officially now. You know what I mean? Like they're like, let's not jump the and on a kicker too. It could take one bad week and his confidence. We don't know yet. He's good so far. He's good so far.
I mean, for Vikings fans, we're hoping. We're like, for you guys' sake, we're hoping that he stays a good kicker. For mine, I hope that he sucks when he comes to Lambeau Field. He already was at Lambeau Field. So, I mean, I guess he can't suck at Lambeau Field in the middle of December, but I'm sorry. Sorry.
Maybe he
Dustin
will.
says that Alex Hale was 27 for 30 from over 50 in college. Is he talking about Alex Hale or is he talking about Will Reichert there?
Right, yeah.
I'm not sure. We're talking about two different kickers right now. But I mean, the Packers have tried multiple routes now. Anders Carlson from the draft didn't work out. Now they're trying kickers they're finding off the street. They traded for one from the Titans. They got, now they're picking up one in Brandon McManus. They're just hoping something sticks at this point. That's all they can do. They're just hoping that something sticks and they can throw mud at the wall and it sticks to the wall. That's what we're hoping for at this point in Green Bay, that we can just find a kicker because we feel like we got everything else figured out at this point. You just can't go and play it. You can't win a playoff game without a kicker. That's all I know. You cannot win a playoff game because 3 points is a lot when it comes to playoff time there. As Dustin says, he was talking about Reichert there, who was 27 for 30 over 50 in college. Not great. 3 misses. 3 misses there, Dustin.
True.
3 misses. I mean, that probably cost Alabama the national championship. That's all I know. So
Vinatieri wouldn't have missed him.
Vinatieri would have never missed him. That
Wait.
dude did not know when to retire. They wanted him to retire 5 years before he did. He just wouldn't retire. They're like, dude, you can leave. Like, you can leave. You're fine. So, one last Packer tidbit I wanted to get into. Evan Williams has shown he is the number 2 safety alongside Xavier McKinney. He is the number 1 graded safety according to Pro Football Focus, and he's also the number 1 graded rookie through 6 games on the season there, Aaron. This guy, Evan Williams, man, he is playing on a different level right now. I was going to pull up his stats there just to take a little bit of a gander at him there. I mean, rookie coming out of Oregon there, you're like, what are we going to expect out of this guy? He's got 11 tackles on the season. He's got 1 forced fumble, 1 interception, 3 passes deflected there, and you could go through his stats all day, but this isn't a guy you want to mess with. So the Packers have found their safety of the future along with Xavier McKinney right now. They got both of them side by side out there. You got to love it if you are the Packers. And also, Packer fans out there, they want to see Edgerrin Cooper a little bit more. He actually played 38 snaps last week. That was actually, over the amount that we usually see him for. Actually played more than Isaiah McDuffie. So Edgerrin Cooper getting more snaps than Isaiah McDuffie. That's a dude who deserves it there. So you got to love it there. Dustin says, let me have it, dang it. Minnesota has been known for kicking issues. I finally have one. The double doink, brother. The double doink will haunt for. Was that the double doink? Was that the Vikings? Or was that the
No,
Bears?
it's the Bears.
That's the Bears. The Bears.
Eagles, Bears too. Even better.
Eagles, Bears. That's what it was.
Matt
That's
Nagy definitely had a stroke in that. Like he didn't even move.
you almost felt bad for the guy for 5 seconds because played it
You know
perfectly, had it set up.
What's crazy is Matt Nagy went to a high school that's 10 minutes from my house. So,
Really?
but I still didn't feel bad because I was like, you're not coaching the Eagles. Don't feel bad for you.
And you're on the Bears. Nobody cares.
Yeah, I mean, and you had Mitch Trubisky. So if you had any input on that draft pick, that shows how clueless you are. So,
I mean, I gotta be honest with you, Dustin. I don't dislike the Vikings as much as I dislike the Bears. I dislike the Vikings, but I really hate the Bears. It's two different things. I hate the Bears. I dislike the Vikings. I dislike the Lions, but I hate the Bears. That's all I want to say. That's all I want to say there. So Evan Williams, though, he is balling out for this Green Bay Packer team, or for the Green Bay Packers right now on defense. One last guy I wanted to look at on the Packers here, just for our little midweek tidbit, guys balling out on this team. Jaden Reed is a dog. I don't know who needs to hear that, but this guy is something different right now. You're talking about a guy, he is 27th in receptions right now. He's got 442 yards in the year, 3 touchdowns, 16 average right now. And I was trying to pull up his stats on the year for pass receiving. I was trying to pull up the big stats here, but I couldn't pull up the big stats here. I'm talking big yardage plays. That's what stat I was trying to look at there. Big yardage plays right now. Yards of 20 plus on the season there. He's actually in the top of the league in catches for over 20 plus on the season there. So Jaden Reed balling out for the Green Bay Packers right now. You got to love it. Dustin says 1998 season, Gary Anderson was perfect all season and then misses a 32-yarder to send Minnesota to the Super Bowl. Falcons end up going. That's just, dude, Minnesota can't make it to the Super Bowl. We know that. I mean, I was a Viking fan for a little bit with Brett Favre, and the Saints beat them, man. The Saints beat them. They just couldn't do it. The Vikings, they're just that penalized franchise. I don't know what you guys did to, I don't know, piss off God. I don't know what you guys did, but you guys just aren't going to do it. All right. You aren't the Packers, right? God loves the Packers. He doesn't love the Vikings. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you to that. He just loves the Packers. There's something about cheese that just appeals to everybody. I don't know what it is.
You know what? Dustin can probably answer this, but when did that skull thing? Is that like that's got to be newer, right? That wasn't always a like I'm sorry, Dustin. That there's a Vikings fan I know, and maybe it's just because I know one Vikings fan, maybe now two, technically, but and just every Sunday it's like he just skull. I'm just like it reminds me of the was it the Chop in Atlanta? Like oh, like it's the same concept of just like I can't take it. Like I it's not. I don't know. That whole skull thing. Maybe that's enough. Maybe like the Packers don't do anything to me that's annoying. Like the skull thing is just and like who dat with the Saints. Like no, I'm good on that. I don't need to hear that 25 times a game.
Exactly. I agree. Saints didn't beat uh, the Vikings in 2009. They had to cheat to win. I agree. I'm not
Yeah,
against like the Saints cheated to win. They killed Brett
absolutely
Favre. Like they killed Brett. I'm a big Brett Favre guy. Don't get me wrong. So when they murdered him out on the field after the
murder.
play, I was like, this is bad. Like this is nasty. Kyle, thank you for joining in. Thank you for joining in there. Kyle, what is going on tonight? Glad to see you in the comment section. Now that Kyle's here, we got to get to the real NFL talk for the day. We got to get to the real NFL talk right now. The NFL trade deadline, mouthful there. The NFL trade deadline is set for November 5th, but we are seeing a lot of moves being made right now, and we got to talk about them, Aaron, because man, oh man, there is a lot going on. So, the big one we want to talk about here because the state of Wisconsin is not affected by this at all, but we just want to talk about it. Davante Adams is now going to join Aaron Rodgers out there in New York. So, does this make the Jets better?
You got to think it makes them better. I mean, did you before we get into that real quick? Did you see that Rodgers basically threw his receiver under the bus for the interception he threw at the end of the game? That
Of
was
course he did. That's Rodgers.
oh my god! Like just Aaron Rodgers is the epitome of a nozzle to me, and like this was another example of that. But I mean, yeah, it's his guy. They were, you saw it firsthand every game how dangerous they are together. I still don't. This team, the whole Salah thing, Aaron Rodgers completely running the franchise. Like, it's posed for a collapse. And like I told you earlier today, I was like, so this will get them to the wild card and they can lose. So or the division. Like this will make them a first round exit now instead of maybe not. But I mean, you have Garrett Wilson there. What if Garrett Wilson starts getting up? Because Rodgers is going to force feed Devontae. Like it's going to be like Devontae. Like if you don't hammer Devontae Adams anytime touchdown this week, like you might as well be just burn your money because like there's no way he doesn't at least try and get this guy a touchdown. Like they're best buddies. They're hand in hand. Like this is like yin and yang. So I think it makes them better. I mean, Devontae Adams is a great receiver. Obviously, that goes without saying. But is it like? Am I now thinking the Jets are going to run away with the division and go to the Super Bowl? No, absolutely not. I just we see what the Jets are. They dropped to 2-4 last night. They're already in a hole. The Bills playing good. I just at the AFC. I mean, you got Baltimore, you got Kansas City, you got like the AFC is a gauntlet. Um, it makes them better, sure. I mean, you give up a third round that could be a second round, probably worth it. I think the Raiders maybe could have gotten something. I don't know, maybe not, but it's yeah, I see why they did it. Is it like wow, this puts them over the top? No, I don't think so at all.
It gives the red zone threat of Devontae Adams back to Aaron Rodgers because he loves that. He loves that red zone threat that he had with Devontae. My thing with the whole situation is it doesn't fix the offensive line. It doesn't fix that. It doesn't fix the lack of usage of Brees Hall in the run game for the Jets. It doesn't fix that. It doesn't fix that you still have Nathaniel Hackett there, even in the organization. That dude should have got fired too. He should be gone.
Your O line,
So your
yeah.
O line, they suck. Like you didn't fix anything that was an actual problem. You're wasting a defense. Aaron Rodgers, that dude should retire. Dude should just gone. He should just be gone. Right now, he's running this team, because Kyle, he says in the comments there, he says that he threw Mike Williams under the bus. And they said Mike Williams is available for a trade. Why is he just all of a sudden available for a trade? I have no idea. You
It's
got
like
this guy in the offseason. You wanted him. Why is he
it's like
gone, right?
it's like LeBron, right? When the LeBron has beef with somebody, oh, they're on the trading block. Like
They're on the trading block. They're gone
this
right
is
off the
like
bat.
LeBron, but like the NFL with like you might as well call him the New York Aaron Rodgers. Like it's
Worse.
literally you're
This
being
is
run by
somehow
Aaron Rodgers.
worse. This is somehow worse than that, though. This is somehow worse. And the thing with Rodgers, the thing with this organization right now is that it's trending in a bad direction, and it's not going to get fixed anytime soon. It's not going to get fixed. You talked about before. They're not in a race right now. They might think they're in a race. They might still be technically in this race, but you got to add more pieces to that. Then Devontae Adams doesn't fix that. And how are you looking at guys like Alan Lazard right now, even Mike Williams, they're sitting there, and even a guy like Garrett Wilson, because you just mentioned it before. You get Devontae Adams in, that's buddy, right? You're a third wheel now. You're a third, like, you ever been on that date, right? You're on that date, you go with your buddy, and he's going on this date with this girl, right? You're kind of just along for the ride. You're sitting in the back seat, they're giggling, they're laughing in the front seat. You're just sitting there like, why am I here? Like, this is pointless. Like, you know, I'm better looking than that guy. I do more than that guy. I have a lot more potential than that guy at this stage of my life, right? But yet you're looking at him, and I'm back here looking all, good and fine right now. But you're all over this guy. Like, what is going on right now? That is Aaron Rodgers right now with Devontae Adams. Garrett Wilson's sitting in the back seat right now. Like, he doesn't even have any say in what's going on. He is the better looking object at this point because he is young. He's got the talent. He's got the ability to be a great wide receiver, and he's going to be turned into a third wheel on a date with Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers just because those two are buddy, and you can't get over that.
Can you imagine? We got a lot of comments here, but can you imagine like they're in a team meeting, right? And it's like Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, and like Garrett Wilson's like, hey Aaron, can I? And he's like Devontae's talking, like like I could just so see that because it's Aaron. Like Aaron Rodgers would be that type of guy where it's like, dude, I'm Aaron Rodgers, he's Devontae Adams. Who are you? Like I'm like not that Garrett Wilson is bad, but it's like like we have been established. We're those guys. Like, and I don't know. I would just love to be a fly on the wall for like just being around Aaron Rodgers because it's got to be, oh man, like it's got to be like just soap opera type stuff. It's got to be.
Devontae's sitting there like, I wasn't even talking, but I guess I can now. Like, okay, thank you. Like, oh, all right. So my wife she says Rodgers needs to retire too. I don't foresee him ever going to another Super Bowl. There's a reason people hardly talk about him anymore. I agree. They don't talk about the talent wise of Aaron Rodgers anymore. I mean, she is 100% correct with that. They don't talk about the talent. They talk about the storylines that are behind it there with Aaron Rodgers and everything like this that is going on in the world. So we got a lot of comments here. We got Kyle. He says that Rodgers will make them trade for Aaron Jones next. I agree. They'll throw Sauce Gardner out there. They'll throw Mike Williams. They'll say just take the defense. We'll take Aaron Jones here in New York. We got Dustin. He says these egomaniacs deserve each other. Neither one of them is a team first guy, and their arrogant attitude is why I never liked the Packers. Shut up, Dustin. I've had enough. I'm just kidding, Dustin. I'm just kidding. But we don't need you to like the Packers. That's fine. All right, that's fine. You can just come and eat our cheese and spend time with our beers and in our bars, but don't like the Packers. I agree, though. I mean, these two, they deserve each other in the end. They're both like, look at Devontae Adams. I gotta play with this guy. And then you look at Aaron Rodgers. He's like, I gotta get my boys. The Packers never gave me enough in Green Bay, but I want all my boys to come out to New York with me. Why? You didn't want them when you were in Green Bay. Why do you want them in New York? It doesn't make sense there, but whatever on that one. Dustin says that Aaron Jones isn't going to leave Minnesota. He is appreciated in Minnesota, and it shows. We appreciated him too, Dustin, in Green Bay. We appreciated that guy. We just didn't want to pay him, apparently. You know what? That was this. How excited I was when the Packers got Josh Jacobs. And I was like, we're going to have Josh Jacobs and we're going to have Aaron Jones in the backfield. Like, we're talking about two guys who could compete with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery for the best 1-2 combo in the NFC. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, Aaron Jones is gone. Like, oh, okay. whatever. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I'm not crying. Whatever. So, whatever. So Kyle, he says letting a one-time champion run your franchise is wild. I completely agree. This dude won one Super Bowl, and he's like, you're giving him the keys to the car right now. You're like that dad who's giving the keys to your Lamborghini to your 15-year-old kid and saying, go park it down the road there about 15 miles. Like, you don't want to do that. You don't
Well,
want to do that.
yeah, real quick, but like I don't want to get too long-winded on this, but it's so funny when did you hear about how the Jets, Woody Allen and Saleh and all of them went out to Rodgers' house, his California house, I guess, and they're like, please, come to the Jets, like they're just like kids at end Christmas, and then like because as soon as Saleh got fired, I'm thinking, how much time this guy like, and you don't, I mean, it's your job, right? You're the head coach and you got to do all this, but like I guarantee Saleh and all of them had so many meetings. Okay, well, this is what it's going to take to get Rodgers. What do you think about Rodgers? And then like Rodgers comes in, he's like, I don't really like that Robert Saleh guy. Like it's like week 4, and he's like, boom, out the door, like just calling the shots, and like you're
The
out of here, bud.
second that Robert Saleh said that it was an unexcused absence from minicamp, that second, Rodgers no longer liked Robert Saleh. That was it. That was it. It wasn't Saleh's coaching. It was never his coaching. It came down to he was not in Rodgers' corner, and he didn't like him anymore. So bye-bye. See you later. I'm
He's
the
hard to like.
franchise.
He is hard to like. So
He is. I can't believe that Mike McCarthy actually even got along with Aaron Rodgers for that long. That is, and Rodgers got Mike McCarthy fired out of Green Bay. I mean, he's got a long list of getting head coaches fired. That's all I know. Dustin says Mike Williams is injury prone, though. That is his issue. He may be 28, but his knees say 35 to 36. Yeah, I mean, Mike Williams has got his injury problems. I wish he could stay healthy because he was a Clemson guy, wasn't he? Mike Williams, I believe he was at Clemson there. Was
I
he
think
there
so.
with Deshaun Watson? I really think I'm trying to remember off the top of my head here. Yeah, he went to Clemson. I believe he was there with 2017. He was the number 7 pick in the 2017 draft. So he would have been there in 2016, 2015. He would have been there with Deshaun Watson. He had been around that Watson time with championship time. I saw him in college and I was like, this dude has a lot of potential to be a top wide receiver in the NFL. And I mean, man, it just didn't work out there. Kyle, he says A-Rod can go retire and be a full member of Pat McAfee. I agree with that one. I was surprised to see Devontae Adams on Pat McAfee, though. That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. That all of a sudden he's talking to Rodgers, then in the background, Devontae kind of sticks his head into the picture. I was like, that's a cool moment. That's a cool moment there. Dustin says, when my son asked Rodgers for an autograph 3 years ago, Rodgers charged my son $100 for the autograph. He is about as classless of a human as you can get. Yeah, why would your son is asking Aaron Rodgers for an autograph? Come on now, come on.
Yeah, it'll be worth something at least, right? I
You're
mean,
a Vikings guy, man. You're a Viking. Go get Sam Darnold's autograph. Come on now, get a
no, you
better
don't want
quarterback.
that. You don't want.
Get a better quarterback, Aaron. Get a better quarterback. That's all I know. Kyle says Rodgers had people thinking LaFleur wasn't a good coach. 100,000% correct, Kyle. 100,000% correct. Because the second we saw Rodgers out the door, this playbook and this play calling looked fantastic. I mean, look at all the crap the Green Bay Packers do now, just pre-snap. Look what they do now. You always have a guy in motion. You always have guys moving pieces around. You always have different guys getting the football. I mean, it's the most random things in the world that are happening in Green Bay now. But that's Matt LaFleur's playbook being used to its full potential there. So I 100% agree with you. And then Kyle also goes on to say, Rodgers coordinated that moment with Adams. Yes, 1,000%. 1,000% agree. He definitely did coordinate that moment with Adams. So I agree with you on that one. It was cool. Like it was like one of those, holy crap, like Devontae's there with Rodgers right now. But yes, like that was planned out because he knew he was on Pat McAfee. He's like, Devontae, come over to my house. Come over to my house. Be here. Like we'll get it on the Pat McAfee show. Everybody will see it. They'll think it's cool. They'll talk about it. It'll be awesome there. Dustin says, my son was 7 years old. He is a football fan first, LOL. My son is actually a Chiefs fan, but he still likes to get autographs from athletes. As an athlete, that should be an honor not to make a job in charge. I agree. Like I do. I agree with that. I think there are a lot of athletes out there. There's a lot of humble ones. Like don't get me wrong. I'm not shooting at all athletes right now. There's a lot of humble athletes, but then you got your guys who are like, you got to pay for that. You only get this slotted amount of time. And if you're not, in that slotted amount of time, I ain't signing crap for you, or You see these guys when they're walking down tunnels and everything, and you got little kids off to the side, and they just walk on by there. I mean, but you look at guys like, I'm just trying to think of videos that I've seen, but like Steph Curry will always run off to a fan and stuff like that. Or you got, your other guys out there. I mean, Jordan Love would be that guy who's going to run off. Josh Jacobs, I've seen him taking pictures with fans up in the crowd. Like, you got those all around guys, and then you got your other guys, and those are the guys we really don't want to get into. But Aaron, off to Devontae Adams. We saw a game last night between the Bills and the Jets, right? And the Bills outlasted the Jets. Aaron Rodgers throws a pick. They're not able to do it, right? This was the craziest thing because they both went in that game. They both kind of struggled, and they both went and traded for wide receivers right at basically as the game was getting over with. Because we do see the Bills go and they grab Amari Cooper from the Browns there. So the Browns look like they're selling at this point too. Amari Cooper's on his way over to the Buffalo Bills right now. We talked about it. We've talked about in the past there. The Bills, they have a lot of no-name wide receivers. They have a lot of, young, decent wide receivers, but you wouldn't say that they're great. But what do you think? Amari Cooper to the Bills. I kind of like the signing. I think Amari Cooper's got talent left in that bag. You put him with Josh Allen. You put him with some of these other guys on this roster. There's not a whole lot to talk about on this roster because there's a lot of no-name guys. I mean, you look at the passing game right now. They got Khalil Shakir right now. They have Kincaid is actually their second leading receiver right now. Their tight end. And then you have Coleman. And then you have Cook, your running back, in there as your fourth spot in the receiving room. So not a whole lot going on in the receiving room right now for the Bills. You add in a guy like Amari Cooper. I love that move for the Bills there.
I do too. I mean, and at least Amari Cooper's out of Cleveland, right? Because like his talent is being underutilized there. I mean, Deshaun Watson is probably the worst quarterback in football right now. It's like that's a mess. Like you want to get out of there. So you go to a competing. I mean, you got to go to a team that's leading their division. You have a great quarterback in Josh Allen. Like that's ideal for. I mean, and if you're the Browns from an organizational standpoint, that's probably. I mean, they might now finally be admitting that this Deshaun Watson thing isn't working out. Because I mean, in this coming offseason, what are we going to see there? That's going to be my question: is do they try and draft a quarterback? Are they just going to like ride this contract out forever? Cooper probably left without packing. Yeah, I'm sure he probably just left with. He might have had a brown shirt on, and he's just like walking. He's just like whatever. Like I'm getting on the plane. Whatever flight's next, I'm out of here. So it's I mean, it's a good trade for Buffalo though. Like you said, I mean, losing Diggs in the offseason, you get a guy that's an established veteran. Like he can run the route tree. He can do all that type of thing. Why not? Like, why not try and help Josh Allen, really go after it? I mean, you're going to have to go against the Chiefs in the playoffs, once we get there. So you need all the help you can get. And it's a good move. It's a decent move. They didn't really give up a lot. I think, a third and a seventh, or I was just reading up on the transaction.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
wasn't a lot.
third and a seventh. Yeah. And a sixth rounder from Detroit. So, I mean, whatever. I mean, late round. To get Amari Cooper for basically a third, like really look at that as a third round pick. I mean, I'd do that right now.
In a heartbeat. There's no option if you are the Bills right now. You can compete. You got a good enough defense to do it. And you're just looking for what can we get better over time here. And also, I believe Von Miller's out for the Bills too. So you don't have Von Miller in there. He's one of your better defenders. So you got to get Von Miller back if you are the Bills. You're feeling good there. Dustin says Valdez Scantling is in Buffalo. Who knew? LOL. I agree. I didn't know Valdez Scantling was in Buffalo. But guess what? He's going to the Jets because they're getting the boys back together. Green Bay, New York style. That's all I know. They're going to put a sitcom. It's going to be a sitcom. I'm telling you, it's going to be a show. It's going to be like the the Real Housewives of like Orange County. It's going to be like the real Packers of New York. And then it's going to be Devontae and Rodgers. They're going to get David Bakhtiari up in there. They're going to have Alan Lazard in there as the girl that nobody wants in the room. And then they're going to have Valdez Scantling be that random girl who shows up. Like, that's just going to be the show. They're going to have a great show out there in New York. That's going to be great. I mean, I'm telling you now. But I love the move, like I said. Love the move for the Bills right there. And who knows? Maybe the Bills aren't done adding, right? Maybe they're not done adding. You still got guys like DeAndre Hopkins out there in free agency. If you're sitting there and you're like, if you're an AFC team who is sitting there saying, I don't want the Chiefs to get better because I believe the Chiefs are going to be shopping in that market and they're going to be looking at D Hop, you might be a team like I don't know if the Ravens really need a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, but there might be a team who just gets DeAndre Hopkins just because they don't want the Chiefs to get him. Like there might be a
I was
team
gonna
like
say it wouldn't hurt because like the Ravens have Zay Flowers. They to me the Ravens needed like that guy. The only one I can think. I mean Devontae, but like if they had like that pure like possess like an AJ Brown, a Devontae, you know, like who else, like a big bodied receiver, like that would be scary.
D
That would
Hop
be
is
'cause
that guy. D Hop is
he
that he's got hands, man. He's
he
got
does.
hands
He
to
does. I'm
throw the
just
ball.
saying, like, if they had like an opposite of Zay Flat, like if they had like that Devonte Adams build receiver, like I mean that I mean you would think with Lamar would get them over the hump just because of Derrick Henry like running
Yep,
loose on people, like that would be terrifying. But like yeah, I mean if even if I'm Baltimore sitting there, like you gotta, I mean you gotta arm you gotta like load up your arsenal to go play the Chiefs. Like it just you could have everybody under the sun, and I'd still probably pick the Chiefs because they've been there, done that.
agreed. I agree there. And Dustin says the Chiefs are expected to get Hopkins and Adam Thielen. So you get Adam Thielen, you get Hopkins. The Chiefs are once again dangerous because you already got Xavier Worthy in the room. So they got a bunch of dogs out there. Then, man, I would love to see. I don't think they could pull it off because I don't think they need him. But if you got Hopkins back in Houston, you got Hopkins back in
That'd be
Houston there,
sweet. Yeah.
man. But you got Tank Dell, you got Stephon Diggs, you got Nico Collins. Yeah, it'd be hard to find snaps for everybody, but getting D
You
Hop back,
you can make it work. Yeah,
you
you can
can
make
make
it
it
work.
work. You can make it work if you get something like that done. So you got to love some of these moves. The Bills, I think they 100% got better with that move. Didn't lose a lot in the process there. You got to like that kind of move. And then the Vikings, they make an under the table kind of move. Nothing crazy about this move, I guess. Cam Akers is going back to Minnesota there. He's getting traded from the Texans to the Vikings there. There was no snaps in Houston for Cam Akers anymore. You got Damian Pierce back. You have a guy like Joe Mixon coming back off injury, but he's back now. You got two guys already in the room. There was no snaps left for Cam Akers on the backside of that. So Cam Akers heading back to Minnesota. Their second, the Minnesota Vikings have acquired running back Cam Akers for the second time in 12 months. So they can't decide yet. They're trying to decide, but they can't decide if they want Cam Akers or not. But what I saw is isn't a move that is because of Aaron Jones and his hip injury that he's had. This is just a move to bolster up that room. So Cam Akers is an experienced back. You add him into Minnesota. They feel like they're putting something together to make a postseason run. So for them, a good move. What do you think, Aaron? I mean, they traded I believe it was a conditional sixth round pick to the Texans in exchange for a conditional sixth round pick and Cam Akers. So essentially, late round swap of picks there, and then also Cam Akers heading in Minnesota.
Yeah, it can't hurt, right? I mean, he's a solid back. Like, not gonna blow your skirt up, but like, yeah, it's not bad. It could help. It's the passing game's going really good right now. Obviously, with Darnold and the assortment of receivers, like they have just some of the best receivers in football. But yeah, I look at that as like it's kind of like a roll of the dice. Why not? Like, let's see what we can get here. Might help, might not make a difference, but might help. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No, I think it's a good move. You're adding an experienced back who, if Aaron Jones goes down again, you get time. So Dustin says they didn't want to lose Akers in free agency, but they allowed him to explore free agency. So there you go. That's the Vikings' reasoning behind uh, Akers ending up in Houston was essentially that they wanted him to test free agency, and he tested it, and he was gone. So I guess that happens in this wild, wild world there. So, Aaron, before we get to our edition of pretenders and contenders, let's get to our fact of the day here. So, what do we got for a fact today?
A lot of good books growing up. I'm sure you
A lot of
partake.
good books. Dude, I don't read, but yeah, get on with it.
I trust me. I tell myself I'm going to, and I don't. But back in the day, this was like a staple. I would say at least in I think in the whole United States. So without further ado, the children's novel Charlotte's Web was
Ooh.
purchased or published. I'm sorry, published on this day in 1952. So bringing it back pretty far, but that's a class like you can't. There's nothing bad to be said about Charlotte's Web, in my opinion.
No, No, you cannot. I mean, I didn't realize when I was young that the book was actually about a spider. I didn't realize that the spider was actually the main character in there. I thought it was the pig, but I was blown away. I was blown away. I also was blown away back in the day. We were gonna, get off topic here, but Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy by Big and Rich. When I was a kid, that was my favorite song. You want to know why? I'm a big horse guy. I thought it was about horses. All my
Oh
life,
man.
thought it was about
Well,
horses. Then I
you
became
could
to the bad reality that this is not about horses, Aaron, and it ruined my childhood.
look at it that you're saving the whole, like, the horse gets a day off. I mean, you could look at it that you could look at it in
You're
just a
still
different
pointing in a
perspective.
bad direction there, my friend. You're still pointing in a bad direction with that one. It ruined my
Definitely is.
childhood. Let's just go with that. It ruined the childhood for
That's
me there. So, so yeah. So let's get on. Let's get on. We got our pretenders and contenders in the NFL right now. So without further ado, Aaron, let's get on with it here. We have our first team to discuss. The Pittsburgh Steelers. Pretender or contender?
Now, let me ask you this just as a caveat to that. When you're saying contender, are they just a contender for like to make the playoffs, or a Super Bowl contender, conference like, are they gonna I'm sorry, division like winning contender, or are they just they have a shot
Playoff
to make the
contender.
playoffs?
Like you could put them in a playoff and they're going to contend in the playoffs.
Contend in the playoffs.
Like this isn't like, a crappy division. They get in and they just get mopped in the first round because they suck. Like this is a team that if they
Yeah.
get into the playoffs, they could win again.
I think you can make them a content. I think their ceiling is one playoff win. Like, so that's kind of what the Steelers' MO has been lately. Their offense still is not it's not blowing you away by any means. It's really not. Now I hear that Russ Wilson is taking first team reps. They're not saying that Justin Fields benched, but it's like it basically feels like a competition at this point. I don't think Fields has played bad, but he hasn't played. It reminds me of like Pickett a little bit. It's like they're just not, nothing excites you about Fields being out. Like he can be exciting to watch, but for 4 quarters, it's like, yeah, it's like glass half empty in my opinion. So yes, they're a contender, but even if they went up against, I mean, maybe Baltimore, they upset Baltimore because division, if that presented itself, but against like a Kansas City or I'm trying to think. Buffalo, I don't see them hanging with like a better team, if that makes sense.
I agree. You could, I mean, if Russ can play decent enough, you could see a Fields Russell Wilson kind of combo. You could see more of like a Taysom Hill down there with the Saints, like a wildcat kind of guy where you're putting Justin Fields in majority to run, but he can throw the ball a little bit. So it's a little bit of both. Kyle, he says pretender. Uh, Offense isn't explosive enough, but will be in the playoff hunt. I agree with that there. And then Dustin also says the Steelers are a pretender because of the offense. Yeah, I agree. The offense is not played up to it yet. Maybe they do at some point. We'll see. Defense does take you somewhere. I mean, we talk about Peyton Manning winning a Super Bowl with the Broncos. Like the defense carried him to that point and won the Super Bowl for him. So it's a possibility. The offense just has to do enough to get the job done. But you aren't talking about a team like Kansas City. You aren't talking like a team like the Texans or a team like the Ravens who can exploit a defense. And now you're in a gunslinging match, and can you win that? So we're going to see how it ends up there. But I would agree. Right now, this is a team who will be in the playoff hunt. But further than that, I don't know yet. I don't know with that one. Now we go to an interesting one because I love this team. I don't know about you going into this one, but I love this team. The Washington Commanders. I love what Jane Daniels is doing. This guy, I said it early on. I was like, this could be the best guy in the draft. This could be the number one quarterback in the draft. I mean, Caleb Williams has got talent. I'm not saying he doesn't, but Jaden Daniels is the dog. And I was like, if you're going to have a 1-2 combo in a draft where you could say either one of these guys could be the best, Jane Daniels right now is playing on a different level. And this team is rattling off wins. I mean, yes, you beat the Giants. You did beat the Bengals, right? The Bengals are a team that offensively, that's a pretty good team. So you got to win there. Browns, I don't know if you count that one, but then the Cardinals 42-14. That is a blowout of a Cardinals team. I mean, they've been blown out now by the Packers and the Washington Commanders, but this is a good team in the Commanders. They got a pretty good, decent defense, right? A decent defense. Jane Daniels is playing well. The offense is playing well. What do you think about this team?
Yeah, I can't go as far as say I like them. I really don't like them. But yeah, I mean, few more wins, they'll be contenders, is what Dustin's saying. I mean, I think it's still so hard to say just because we're early in the Jane Daniels rookie season. You can't ask him to play much better than he has, so I have to at least tip my cap there. Obviously, I mean they play the Panthers coming up at home this Sunday. That should be a definite win there, I would think. I mean, then they play the Bears. That's interesting, but then they play the Giants again, Steelers. Like, I mean, if they weather the storm and go 500, I mean, the NFC East right now is a hot pile of trash, the Eagles included. So it's, yeah, I mean, I think they're contenders. Are they going to go like the NFC Championship? I would bet against that. But they're having a great year. Dan Quinn has them playing a lot differently than they have in years past. I think that's part of it too. I mean, this reminds me of kind of how Houston, did it. They brought in a new head coach and, a rookie quarterback, and they were off to the races. You're seeing the same thing here. And he's definitely outplaying Caleb Williams, and he's like we kind of gave him his credit the other night. Was he's probably got I mean, Bo Nick's playing decent, yeah, but he's playing the best out of all the rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah, and Dustin, he said pretender, a few more wins. They will be contenders. And then Kyle says pretender will be a playoff team, but tough to say with the rookie QB. I agree simply because the schedule is favorable for the Commanders. I mean, you're talking about, like you said, the Panthers up next. Then you have the Bears, but then you have the Giants. Then you play the Steelers, the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Titans, the Saints, the Eagles, the Falcons, and the Cowboys again. The NFC East is wild right now. You don't know what any team's going to do at this point. I have a lot of those teams on this list that we're going to talk about. If they're even pretenders or contenders, what are they at this point? So right now, this Commanders team, for me, I'm going to say they're a pretender, but like Kyle said, I think they're going to get into the playoffs just because this is like the Wild West right now in the NFC East. And I don't think there is a solid team in there that is better than the Commanders right now. Like, I cannot say that there's a better team in there right now than the Washington Commanders. So I think they will be a playoff team. And who knows? Maybe Jaden Daniels gets hot and wins a playoff game. I mean, it depends, if the stars align, what matchup you have, if it's favorable, if it's not. Who knows? We'll see what happens when we get there. Maybe they'll play the Bears, right? Maybe they'll play the Bears and knock them out of the playoffs. That's something we could talk about. So, that would be something. Jaden Daniels versus Caleb Williams. I can't wait for that matchup here in 2 weeks because you have two quarterbacks draft the same draft going up against each other. You love those kinds of matchups there. So, next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta right now, this team, there isn't much to dislike about the Atlanta Falcons, I guess you could say. The defense is solid. Offensively, Kirk Cousins does enough to get the job done. He isn't crazy. He's not like he's lighting the world on fire, but he does enough for you. They're 4-2 right now. What do we think, Aaron? We got, this team's coming off three wins in a row here. Saints, Bucks, and Panthers. Solid team, but contender or pretender?
I like how Baker's playing a little bit better than I would say how um shoot, I'm like losing my mind tonight. How Kirk Cousins is playing so far this year. Do I think like Atlanta's skill position wise, like Drake London, um,
Bijan Robinson.
Bijan, yeah, man. Like I feel like they are definitely a one and done in the playoffs to me. Like I don't see them going any further than one playoff win at most. But they're a contender to be a playoff team. I mean, like we just kind of alluded to with the scheduling. I just brought up their schedule. I It's pretty favorable going forward here. And I trust Kirk Cousins to at least weather the storm from a regular season perspective. Now, when the lights come on in the playoffs, I'm like, yeah, that's not the guy I want if I'm a Falcons fan. Um, it's interesting. I still don't know. Like, was this the right move to bring in Kirk Cousins to be like? I just think you're stagnant with Kirk. Like you're never gonna get over the hump, but you're not bad. So does that put you in a good position for when? Like, I mean, we'll see with Penix, down the road. But like, I don't know if that's. There's two ways to look at that coin. It's like if you're a middle of the pack team for the next 4 years, what's that get you? I don't know. I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if it's a bad. Like I don't know because I would bet my entire life savings with the Falcons with Kirk Cousins never get to a Super Bowl. I would. That's like write it in stone to me.
I think your hope is that Kirk Cousins can do just enough, get the ball out to the playmakers like Drake London, like Bijan Robinson, Darnell Mooney. Those guys can do the work. That's what I think you're looking at. Those guys can do the work. You look at what Kyle had to say there. He said Kirk Cousins is Tom Brady when you dealt with Desmond Ritter. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you there. I mean, Kirk Cousins just has to do enough, get it to the playmakers, let them do their things out there. You saw Matthew Judon come down. He's a part of that defense now. You upgrade the defense. You know, your defense is solid. Look at the offensive side. If you can do just enough, right? If you do just enough, like a Peyton Manning with the Broncos, stuff like that, you find your way into the playoffs. Maybe you could do the right thing there. Dustin said pretender there, weak division. And then Kyle said pretender, playoff team, but I don't see him as a top tier team. And then also Dustin said the right move was to start Penix, and I will stand by that. Penix was the most NFL ready quarterback in this year's draft.
Mm.
I'm going to tell you this now. I'm not a fan of starting guys right out of college. I'm not. And this is coming from a Packers fan who has watched 3 straight times of bringing guys in and having them sit. It works. It works. That was a big reason why Kirk Cousins is down there to begin with. It's a big reason for it. You want Kirk Cousins to teach Michael Penix. You want Michael Penix to get a feel for the NFL game, and then you want to throw him out there. Yeah, you could have thrown Michael Penix out there this year, but then you'd have growing pains. Do you want the growing pains? Right now, the Falcons are at the top of the division. They're in a race now for the playoffs. They believe they can make the playoffs, and that is because Kirk Cousins is in there. Right now, you look at the Bears with Caleb Williams. I don't believe the Bears. The Bears are going to experience Caleb Williams' growing pains throughout the season. You don't want to. That's why it feels so weird what the Bears did, because they went out and spent all this money to upgrade all these weapons and everything like that. And it's like, okay, but you're still a year away. Kyle alluded to it before, saying about a rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels trying to take the Washington Commanders deep in the playoffs. It's hard for rookie quarterbacks to be able to do it. They're not used to that moment. Kirk Cousins, he's been in the league for a while. He's been in the league for a while. If you have a team who can get, Kirk Cousins over the top, this Falcons team has a lot of talent, right? They have a lot of talent in that offensive room. Maybe they can do it, right? He's just got to be a game manager at that point. Maybe he can get the job done. It's a wait and see with that team. I'm not going to call them a pretender. They're going to be a contender in the playoffs. I think they'll win a game. I think they're a team that can win a game in the playoffs. Now, are they going to be able to compete with like the Lions and the Packers and the Vikings? If Sam Darnold doesn't start seeing ghosts out there, I don't know. Like, well, are they going to be able to do it? I don't know. But right now, looking at the Vikings, looking at the Packers, looking at the Lions, no, I think the Packers, Lions, and Vikings would be able to beat the Falcons in the playoffs. Dustin says Penix will be 29 by the time he starts. I don't see this Kirk Cousins thing lasting longer than maybe a season into the start of next season. I really don't. I think Michael Penix will be in there sooner rather than later. I just don't see it this season. I see the Falcons as a team right now who want to win, and they're like, what gives us the best option? What is the best option for us to win right now, this season, right now? I think they're going to eat money. I think they are. I think they're going to eat money with this contract for Kirk Cousins, but I think they're just waiting to get Michael Penix in there. So I guess we'll wait and see on that one. I don't know. I don't know with that one. Dustin says that he's salty on this topic because Minnesota never wanted JJ McCarthy. They wanted Penix and settled for McCarthy. Don't hold yourself short on that one. I don't dislike McCarthy. It's a wait and see with McCarthy there, but that dude's a gamer too. I mean, that's a gamer there in JJ McCarthy. So it's a wait and see too for Minnesota. I mean, who knows what they would have done if he would have stayed healthy and he would be in the fold there in Minnesota right now. So that's a wait and see on that one. Let's rattle off these real quick here. We got the Buccaneers. You talked about a little bit before there with Baker. What do you think? Buccaneers, pretender or contender right now in the division? Or, well, for the playoffs, etc.
I probably like the makeup of the Falcons a little bit, like top to bottom. The Falcons. I mean, the Falcons have kind of built that team, fairly well in the last couple of years. But I like Mike Evans and Baker together too much to totally rule them out. I still think they can win that division. I definitely do. They have a tough one this Monday night coming up with the Ravens. Um, but I mean, looking down their schedule right there, I mean, you got the Falcons. That's going to be, intense and division game there. Then you got the Chiefs. I mean, actually, you know what? Looking at the schedule, the more I'm actually digesting this, it's not pretty for the Bucks going forward because you got Ravens, Falcons, Chiefs, 49ers. I mean,
Oh
that
wow,
is
wow, that's a
gauntlet of a
that's a
four
gauntlet.
week schedule. Um, one and done in the playoffs for the Bucks. I could see that. I mean, that's what they beat the Eagles last year, and then they get kind of mopped by Detroit. Um, kind of a close game, but they fell apart late. So, um, yeah, I mean, I really do like Baker. Like he is like one of my favorite quarterbacks from just a rooting perspective. But is he going to take you over? Like he's kind of like Kirk Cousins level as far as like can he get you over the hump? That's I don't know. You'd have to have an elite defense, I think. And they don't have the Bucks defense isn't what it like when Brady was there, that defense was flying around and just madness. It's not to that level anymore. So they're a contender for like they're another one of these like middle of the Steelers, Falcons. It's like none of these teams are winning the Super Bowl, in my opinion. And none of these teams are going to the Super Bowl.
People forget about Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Like ever since
Not
Brady
too.
left, people forget about him. And Mike Evans is still a dog. Like people forget about Michael Evans, and he is still a great receiver there for that Buccaneers team. So I mean, I like the Bucks. I do like the Bucks. I really think that if you're going to see a division get multiple teams that are going to pass the first round there, it's going to be the NFC North. I'm going to be honest with you. There might be a matchup in the NFC Championship game between two teams from the NFC North. Like, I'm just going to be honest with you right now. Like, that is your best division in football. In football, maybe, yeah, I would go as far to say as football right now. I mean, you look at the records in that division right now. The Bears division or the Bears record is kind of, you know, tip of the tongue, not great because they do have a good record, 4-2, but they haven't played a lot of great teams yet. So you could hold it against the Bears in that facet, but still 4-2. They're still 4-2. They won the games that they got to win there. The Packers sitting there at 4-2, Lions at 4-1, Vikings at 5-0. That's a heck of a division right there. I mean, that is a race between four teams right now. So you got to love that. Let's get on with it though. We got a couple more to rattle off here. Seattle right now, they're 3-3 sitting behind the 49ers. We know nothing about this 49ers team. So, I mean, they are all over the place at this point. Seattle, pretender, contender for the playoffs.
I think they are a pretender this year, to be honest with you. I mean, I know DK Metcalf, Lockett, Geno Smith. I don't know. When they signed Geno Smith to that deal, I didn't love it. I don't think he's worth it. He hasn't played bad, but he's not like he's another
6
one of these.
touchdowns and 6 interceptions on the season so far.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, first year head coach, so you have that, Mike McDaniel coming over from Baltimore. I just, I don't know. I think I think this is a year they miss the playoffs. I just do. I think they fade away, and I don't know where you go from. I think you got to find you got to at least attempt to find a quarterback this offseason, whether it be the draft or bringing somebody. I don't know if you continuously keep running it back with. I think this might be his Geno Smith's last year on contract, but I just don't. I don't know. They're just blah to me. They're just
I think you draft and you build behind Geno. I really do. I think you draft and build behind him. I love the wide receiver room for the Seahawks, though.
yeah.
Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and Jackson Smith and the Jigba. I mean, I love that. That is a great
Ohio
wide
State.
receiver room to build off of. And Noah Fant. I mean, people forget about Noah Fant. He was part of that Russell Wilson deal. Noah Fant's a great tight end, too. So they got a lot of pieces. Kenneth Walker in the running back room. They got a lot of pieces to talk about there if you are the Seattle Seahawks. So I'm going to go pretender, too. I think they're a pretender. I think the 49ers will figure it out eventually here. I would hope so for San Francisco fans' sake there, but I think they'll figure it out. I think the Seahawks are a pretender too. We got the Bears. I put the Bears on my list of teams that contender or pretender right now. Their offense is starting to look a little bit better. Caleb Williams is starting to look a little bit better. I'm not going to sell them short as they can't be a contender for a playoff spot at some point. I just want to see it against a good team. I have to see it against a good team. Right now, you're talking about a Bears team. Their last win was against Jacksonville. So that tells you Jacksonville's not great. Panthers before that. The Rams, they beat them 24-18. The Titans, they won 24-17. technically, if you look back at that game, that should have been a loss if Will Levis doesn't screw the pooch in that game there. So you're talking about another loss there. And then they lost 2 games to the Texans and Colts. The Bears defense holds them in games. Can the offense be good enough against good defenses? That's what we're going to find out. They have a game against the Commanders coming up next. They have a bye week this week, then the Commanders. What are we going to see from? What do you think? Pretender, contender?
I still don't believe in the offensive line more than anything. So that being said, I think, against a good like Pittsburgh, let's say like TJ Watt is going against Caleb Williams, he would have a field day in my opinion. I think they're a pretender. That division's loaded, like you said. It's probably the best division in football, at least so far throughout this season. I mean, to Caleb Williams' credit, he's playing a little bit better than I thought he would. So I will say that so far. Looking down the schedule, Commanders, I don't think they pull it off. I hope they do for the Eagles' sake. But then it's Cardinals, winnable game, Patriots, winnable game. But then they play your Green Bay Packers. I know it's division, but then they play all 3 teams in the division then. So it's Packers, Vikings, Lions, bam, boom, 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 right back to back. And then at 49ers. I know the 49ers have
right after that.
Yeah. So I think you'll eventually see this team drop multiple games in a row. I'm not confident that Caleb Williams is going to be able to handle that type of thing very well. I think if he loses 2 games in a row, he's going to become unglued to a certain extent. So with that being said, yeah, I think they're a contender. He's not playing bad. I don't think they have enough.
I agree. I think it's going to be real tough for them. Plus, that division is a gauntlet. That is a gauntlet of division. I mean, there's a lot of good teams in there. There's a heck of a lot of good teams. I'm not saying the Bears are I don't want to say it because I hate the Bears, but I'm not saying they're a terrible team, right? I'm not saying they're a terrible team. I just think they're going to have, like I said earlier with Caleb Williams, he's going to have growing pains. He's going to experience them. You have Packers, Vikings, Lions back to back to back. Then you have the 49ers, and then you play division again. I mean, that is a terrible schedule for a young quarterback to try and go through there. Luckily, those 3 games are at home, I believe, in a row there. That's surprising. They scheduled 3 straight division games at home. Packers. Oh, no, they have, I messed up there. They have the Lions on the road halfway through there. So they have the Lions on the road, but they have the Packers and Vikings at home. Maybe that helps. I don't know. We'll see on that one there. But so we got Bears in there, pretenders. Cowboys, this should be quick. I'm going to go with pretender at this point, unless if they make some major moves there to get a running back in the room, to get help on the offense. I don't know. You got to find something to do down there right now. I mean, I'm going to put pretender for now.
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head there. Dallas, I can't remember the last time Dallas didn't have a formidable running game, and that always is what they'll lean on that. And then Dak, once they get that going, then boom, Dak's throwing it all over the field. They don't have that this year, and literally everybody knows that. So they're just gonna play they're just gonna have Dak try and beat you and load the defensive backs up. You know what I mean? Just run quarters and all that type of thing. So he's not playing well. I mean, they got killed by Detroit. So I'll say pretender. I don't know about their defense because the offense has been so crappy that it's hard to say it's all on the defense. But yeah, they're not playing good so far. So I'll say pretender. They might even miss the playoffs. If Washington keeps this up, then it'll be interesting for sure.
It will be, because the next team on there is the Philadelphia Eagles. Is my pretender or contender list there. Aaron, what do we got? I mean, this team 3-2 right now.
Yeah,
they're 3-2. 3-2 right now. Sirianni's under fire right now, but he did apologize, so that's good. That's good. He apologized for his reaction there, but this team is a mess right now. What do you got? Philadelphia Eagles, pretender or contender?
Yeah, all bias aside, being an Eagles fan, I think, I mean, I thought this would look better than it does. So, I mean, I think they're not going to the Super Bowl this year. You can almost book that. I think at this point, it's just a mess. I mean, you can't. The amount of turmoil this team must have is it's just you can't even measure it. I think Sirianni's a stale voice in the locker room. Sirianni's becoming unglued. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like the Sirianni you've always seen. It's just they've been winning. So now it's like they had the collapse of last year and now the shaky start to this year. And he's just the same, pardon my French, he's an a-hole. You know what I mean? So I mean, he's the frat guy that never grew up. Like he's still at the, he's still doing the keg stands and all that. I just you can't really have that in the NFL unless you're just like the Chiefs or something. Maybe they could get away with it. Their schedule, I mean, they play the Giants. Every time I think it's a winnable game, I mean, they struggled against the Browns. So I want to say they beat the Giants. That Bengals game, they very well could lose. Eagles are a pretender if they keep Kellen Moore. I thought Kellen Moore was going to be a good thing. I really hate the style of defense they play with Fangio. Defense hasn't been bad, but I the style, it drives me up a wall. They let every team go down the entire field on them. I mean, they let the Browns go down the field multiple times with no problem. Like they'll just be peeled wide open. And then we'll clamp it down in the red zone. So that's not sustainable either against a great team. Like Jordan Love would probably, the way this offense looks right now, it would probably be Packers like 73 to Eagles 28 right now. I don't know. They might eke into the play. I don't trust Washington to win the division. So they might compete for the division if they turn things around. But this team's not beating, like if the 49ers get rolling, they're not beating them. They're not beating Green Bay if Green Bay is the same team all year long. Not beating Detroit, not beating Minnesota. They could beat Minnesota. I don't really care what Dustin says. If you get Sam Darnold off his spot, you could beat them. But they're a mess. They're a hot mess. Hopefully they don't bring Belichick in. That's the rumor. I don't want to see that, but it might happen. I don't know. I just don't know.
Everybody in the comment section, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to miss all your comments of contenders or pretenders. I just didn't realize that it wasn't. It's like a little sidebar there, and it's supposed to slowly go up as you get more comments, but it wasn't going up. So the last comment I saw was from a while ago, and then I looked at it and I was like scrolling quick, and I was like, oh my gosh, I missed like 14 comments here. Because all of a sudden you said something about one of the comments, and I'm like, I don't even see that. I'm looking, I'm like, oh crap. I didn't scroll down there. I mean, man, missed a lot of. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, but we got to pull up the big one here. We got to pull up a big one here. Kyle says the Cowboys are trash. It would be offensive to call them pretenders. Kyle, what do we call them? If they're not pretenders, what do we call them? Are they just like, we'll classify them as hot garbage? Like, we'll just classify them as hot garbage. I almost feel bad about the Vikings be a pretender or contender. Where is Dustin's comments? The only contenders, in my opinion, are the Lions and Packers. The Lions are the best team in the NFL, top to bottom. Packers have been there, done that. Minnesota can be a contender if Darnold keeps this up, but the key word is if. That's what the biggest thing and the biggest worry,
Yeah.
I would say, if I was a Minnesota Vikings fan right now, I would say my biggest worry, my only worry, is if Sam Darnold can continue to play like he is. You have weapons. You have a defense. You have a good head coach. You have a great defensive coordinator. You can do everything in between. But can Sam Darnold put it together for an entire season? Aaron has said it the whole time. He's like, when is it going to fall apart? When is it going to fall apart? When's he going to start seeing ghosts? That is the biggest fear of every Minnesota Vikings fan right now. And no, it's not a Super Bowl ring. Yes, you would think a Super Bowl ring was the biggest scare to a Minnesota Vikings fan because they have zero. So, I mean, you would think they're scared of it.
Oh man.
I mean, come on. You would think they're scared of him. No. That ain't it. It's
Oh,
Sam
what?
Darnold.
They don't have one like wave. I think they have one, right? Like Super Bowl
Maybe
4.
before the NFL was the NFL. Maybe before. I mean, look it up. Minnesota Vikings Super Bowl rings.
I
I mean,
think they have one.
zero. That trophy case is empty. I have a T-shirt that says it on.
How many Super Bowls appeared in 4? Losing every. Okay, I stand corrected. I thought they had like one of those early, like Super Bowl 4 or Super Bowl. It was like Frank Tarkleton. Maybe that's not even the right. I was watching NFL films. I think they were in one of those. Way, whatever.
They're
Zero Super
scared of
Bowls.
rings, man. They're scared of rings. We'll see. We'll see here with it. But I mean, I agree there, Dustin, with the Sam Darnold take there. It depends on if Sam Darnold can continue to do it. I honestly think if Kirk Cousins was on this Vikings team right now, they might be less worried about that. They might actually be less worried about that because Kirk Cousins could manage a game. Like he can manage a game. You give him a good head coach and a good defense. I mean, I always thought Kirk Cousins with a good defense would have gone farther in the seasons that he was there. So, and I mean, I don't like the Minnesota Vikings, so that's just my take on it there. Dustin says it's not a fear of mine at all. If Minnesota plays 500 ball the rest of the year, they win 11 games. I agree with that there. And then Kyle, he says, like, when they had a purple people eater defense at least. Yeah, I mean, you have to have you gave Kirk Cousins a decent defense in Minnesota. I feel like he finds a way into the playoffs and maybe makes a playoff run. I really do. Just because Kirk Cousins puts up good stats. I mean, look at his stats throughout the years. They're not terrible stats. Like he does all the little he doesn't do the Patrick Mahomes things. He doesn't do the Joe Burrow crazy crap, but he does enough to get the playmakers the football, and sometimes that's all you need. So I mean, I don't hold those years against him. I hold it against the organization not putting good defense on that team. So last but not least, I had one more. I had one more for the pretender or contender. The rest of the teams, I kind of their contenders are we just don't like them, like Cowboys. Kyle says they're cooked. There we go. They're cooked. That's what we're gonna call them. Los Angeles Chargers. That's the last one I had there. They're sitting at 3-2 right now. Jim Harbaugh's got them at 3-2. Prayers to him. I saw the other day at the game there. He ended up going into the medical tent. He has arrhythmia, is what they said there. So dangerous, I guess. Dangerous situation there with him. Hopefully, I mean that's some scary crap. That's some scary crap right there. So hopefully everything's all good with that end there. I know they pulled John Harbaugh off the. He's having a press conference. They pulled him off quick to talk to him because they had just seen it happen. So I mean, prayers out to him that everything gets fixed in that area and we don't have a scary situation like that again for him. But Los Angeles Chargers, Aaron. I mean, they're 3-2. They have a win against the Broncos, the Panthers, and the Raiders. They lost to the Steelers. They lost to the Chiefs 17-10. Not a bad loss to the Chiefs there, 17-10. I mean, not bad at all there. And I mean, what do you think? Chargers, pretenders, contenders right now.
I think, man, they're not a bad like Herbert. I am a Herbert guy. 6 touchdowns, 1 pick, 64 completion percentage, not bad at all. I just don't. I don't know. I haven't seen them play enough. For one, can you tell me anything about their defense? I'll ask you that.
Let's see here. Let's look at their
Obviously, losing Keenan Allen and things like that have not helped.
Let's look
But
at some stats here. Let's look at some stats. Let's look at some team stats. Let's look at some defensive stats here. Let's look where our Chargers are ranked right now. Giving up yards per game right now. They've given up 289 yards per game right now. So that is actually very good. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're 6 from the bottom right now. So they're 6th to last in yards given up. So that's pretty good on the season so far. You're talking about a team like New Orleans who gives up 395 yards per game. The Chargers are sitting there at 289. Not bad at all. Passing game, they give up 192. On the ground, 97 yards on the ground. They're averaging giving up 13 points per game so far. So that defense is pretty good. And that's
yeah.
pretty good defense.
Okay, I'll lean contender. I'm looking at their schedule coming up at Cardinals, against the Saints, at Browns versus Titans. That's probably the four. I mean, that's probably the easiest schedule over the next 4 weeks. In my opinion, like those teams are all not, world beaters by any means. So if they can come out of that, like even 3-1, you're sitting pretty. Then it gets kind of difficult. I mean, you go against the Ravens at home, at Falcons, at Chiefs. And then Bucks. That's not a wall. And then at Broncos again. So I mean,
And
you
yet the
got to
Bengals
rip off.
before that. I mean, that's a good team.
Yeah, you got to rip off like at least 3. You got to go 3-1 in this stretch, in my opinion. You can't go 2-2 because then it's gonna get harder. So if they can go 3-1, I say contender. I've been a Herbert guy. You know, I mean, I like what he brings to the table. I think under Jim Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh, it's only going to get better. So yeah, their defense is actually blowing me away with the stats you gave me. So I'll say contender this year. I was going to probably wait till next year just because get Jim a full season under his belt back in the NFL. But I mean, they're playing good ball. They beat the Broncos, who the Broncos have been hot lately. So yeah, I say contender right now.
I like that. I think they're contender too. Kyle says pretender, but they will be better once Harbaugh brings in more talent. I agree with that. I think they once and Dust says the same thing. Chargers is going to be a tough out, but they are not ready yet. They will be more year. I'm guessing he's saying in one more year they will be a little bit better. He's at a soccer game right now, so he's down in Mexico watching the U.S. against Mexico right there in a soccer game. So He's not really, he's trying to type and watch soccer at the same time. Nobody likes soccer, but that's besides the point. I'm just kidding. People like soccer. People like soccer. But this is a good Chargers team. And like Kyle said there, like Dustin said, you give Jim Harbaugh time to build this team how he wants to build it. You're excited for the future if you are a Chargers fan. So you got to love it there. So, Aaron, anything else we got to wrap us up here for the night? We're getting towards the end. We got to wrap it up here.
Well, I hope Kyle chimes in, but Kyle, I've told you all year long, I'm worried that this Yankees team is going to win it all. I think they're going to the World Series. They're up 2-0. It's Cleveland. Yeah, I know you love soccer. That we're not wasting our time talking about soccer.
We're not talking about soccer, Kyle.
No, but in all seriousness, Kyle, if see, I'm crossing my fingers for a Subway Series, but Trajan he's kind of talked me off the ledge of that because if the Mets go, he said they're not winning. So unfortunately, I have the battle of like the two most evils. If that's so, it's Dodgers, Yankees. Kyle, do the Yankees win the World Series? I know you're going to say no, but please convince me that they're not because I'm over here panicking a little bit.
All I know is that the Dodgers have a better shot.
Yes, you're right. You're right. But the Mets are like that Cinderella. They are. Oh, man,
yes, but history doesn't tell us that. History tells me that every team that beats the Brewers goes to the World Series. It doesn't say they win. It doesn't say they win. I can't
and
bank
look at the Diamondbacks last year, right? Oh my God! Then they got just destroyed in the World Series. So
that's what I'm saying. I can't risk my house on that one. I got to risk my house on something that could possibly happen. And the MLB would rather have Shohei Ohtani win the World Series than they would the Mets Cinderella bullcrap story. The Brewers should have won the series, mind you. The Brewers should have won that series. But now we're talking about the Mets all the way in the NLCS. They're 1-1 with the Dodgers. It's a complete, it just irritates the crap out of me. I can't handle it sometimes. And like Kyle says, he says, I can only handle one New York team to make it. Yes, we all agree we can only handle it, but at least they keep it on the East Coast then. I don't have to deal with it. Kyle says, I am rooting for the Dodgers if they face off against the Yankees. I like bets more than Verdugo. I guess we could pick and choose players. I'm not cheering for the Dodgers as a whole, but I'm cheering for Freddie Freeman. There you go.
Yeah, he's hard to hate. He's definitely hard to hate.
Like, I can't hate on Freddie, so I'm going to cheer for Freddie, and that's it.
Just, man, like, I don't know, though. I think I mean, it's been a while since the Yankees won one, so like baseball can't lose. Baseball cannot lose if it's Dodgers Yankees. Like this is what MLB. This is a wet dream for the MLB. I mean, it doesn't get much better than LA, New York, huge markets, biggest markets.
You get your Japanese crowd involved because you got Shohei Ohtani in there, so you get all the Dodgers TV and everything like that involved. And adds to our fun.
I love baseball too. Like I live for October baseball, and like this is just putting a black cloud on it. It really is.
Dustin says I have a hefty bet on the Mets to make the World Series. I will fund your show if they do. I am taking your deal. I am taking your deal. I am cheering for the Mets again. I am in on the Mets. Not Jesse Winker, but I am cheering for the Mets. I'm cheering. If Jesse Winker comes up and he hits a bomb to put the Mets into the World Series, I will crap my pants. But then, yes, we will take your funding for the show. We will take your funding for the show here. So we'll take.
I mean, I'll put it to you this way. I think the Dodgers are being tested more against the Mets than the Yankees are with the Guardians. So the Yankees are kind of sliding into the World Series. Yes, they're playing good. I'm not going to take anything away from them. But like that Mets team is that's one of the biggest burners I've seen in a couple years.
They're a confident bunch, right?
They are. Yeah.
We talk about it all the time. It's not about who's the best team going into the postseason. It's who gets hot in the postseason. And I sit there and I ask myself, why can't the Brewers get hot? I don't know. But you're talking about a Mets team who's hot heading in, and they've stayed hot. As the Tigers, I mean, how did the Tigers get a couple rounds? We don't know. Nobody has an idea, but that's how. They got hot. They stayed hot. They rolled into the playoffs, and that's what we're seeing. This Mets team is going up against the Dodgers team who hasn't had to experience this yet. Now you're going up against the Mets who are like, we have nothing to lose. Not a single thing. Exactly. We weren't even expected to be here. The Guardians, they were expected. The Yankees expected. Dodgers expected. The Mets are like, dude, we were in game one. We were playing 162. We were playing a doubleheader against the Braves, and it didn't matter. I mean, it didn't matter. We had to win that game to get in. And after that, I mean, it was like
house money.
Yeah, house money. We're just playing with house money. I mean, they got a lot of money in contracts, right? But that's besides the point. That's besides the point of that one. Kyle, to wrap it up here, he says, I will laugh myself to sleep with the tears of Yankee fans when they finally make the World Series just to lose. I love that. I love that. I also saw, Kyle, that the Red Sox would be in the hot market for Willie Adames from the Brewers there. So I will be crying myself to sleep thinking about Willie Adames putting on a crappy Red Sox jersey and playing in a crappy stadium like Fenway. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that. I didn't mean
Oh
that.
man, that's
Right?
a cathedral of baseball. I'll give him that. I don't like
I
him.
know. I'm sorry. I just get hostile around the 2 hour mark. I just get hostile around this mark there. Dustin says Mets are the front runners for Corbin Burns and wait for Trevor Bauer this offseason. Bauer's coming to Milwaukee. Shut up, Dustin. I've had enough of you. Had enough of you with that. Go watch your soccer game. Go watch your soccer game. Kyle says he'll take Willie Adames. He'll take him. I would take him too. I would take him too. He's a great guy. Great
I think
clubhouse
the Red
guy.
Sox will take anybody they can get at this point, huh?
You guys would take a can of paint just to repaint that stupid wall you have out there. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I didn't
Paint it
mean
red. Paint it red for a year. Why not? Like bright red.
Yeah, who paints it green? That's just stupid. The big green monster. Oh, like whatever. Whatever.
Build another one. Make right field a green monster
A
too.
whole big freaking wall just across the stadium. No short porch anymore. We have a green mega wall.
Just 1 year. 1 year of just bonkers. Why not?
Here you go, Aaron Judge. Hit it out on this one.
Probably still would because he gets
No,
to
build it higher. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna build the wall higher. We're not gonna build it wider. We're gonna build it higher.
1 mile up.
2 points if you hit it up here, boys. 2 points if you hit it up here. All right. With that, we got to get out of here for the night. Aaron, anything else to add before we wrap it up here?
Yeah, better than the lead. I agree with that. That right field should not have been approved by the MLB. But no, I mean, I think I didn't expect to go this long, but we crushed it as always, in my opinion. We gave you all the contenders, all the pretenders. You can book it. So yeah, it was fun. Friday? Yeah, Friday.
Friday
We'll
night.
preview. I don't know if this weekend will be as crazy in college football. I get another bye week for my Penn State Nittany Lions, which is weird. 2 bye weeks in one year is just hard to get used to. But then we go to Camp Randall after that. So I mean, the boys better be not be partying too much and get off track here.
Oh yeah, you got a night game at Camp Randall for that one. We got 6:30 start for that one from Camp Randall, Penn State, Wisconsin in 2 weeks. I cannot wait. It's going to be a great game. I can't wait for that one. Or we're going to get our ass kicked. One of the two. But either way, we're going to wrap it up here for the night here. From Aaron and myself, we hope you guys enjoyed the show. It was a great show. As always, we hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night. And we hope you guys, if you guys listen to the show tomorrow on every podcast platform, we hope you guys enjoy your day tomorrow and the rest of the week up until we lead up to Friday with our preview show there on Friday. So with that, for Aaron and myself, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trades. Thank you guys for listening. We hope you guys enjoyed the rest of your night.